second. No. Yes.
There we go. Ooh.
Shit.
Ooh. No.
Well. Shit.
Some bitch.
I snagged a split bit in my fucking locks. Yeah, let's do it. Welcome to the Ace Podcast, where we talk all things art, culture, and entertainment, but more specifically pop culture entertainment. I'm your regular co-host, Will the Greatest, and with me, live and in person, in my house, in my kitchen, I have my regular co-host.
Aaron, that is me. Hello. It has been a spell since we've been in the same room recording a podcast together, a little over a year. I'm excited to be here. This is awesome. It's been a very cool trip to X location where Will is located. And
Location X.
And yeah, I'm excited to talk about most of the things we're discussing today.
Yes, most of the things we're talking about today have been recent, whereas like the last month.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good for us. Yeah, I mean, how have you been enjoying the trip? I know it's like Halloween weekend as we're recording this, or I guess past tense, but
it's been good, man. I've been having a lot of fun. You know, it's been very chill, a true vacation. Don't gotta worry about shit or places to be and none of that. You know, I had some financial concerns before coming out here, but everything worked out perfectly.
So, I'm glad.
And X place where Will lives is very affordable as compared to where I live in state X, and I've just been having a good time. We have done a lot of stuff, watched some movies, of varying quality, eaten a lot of good food, maybe too much food in some cases.
Yes,
but overall, it's been fun. And we're recording this the night before I'm about to fly back to where I live, and yeah, I definitely want to come back. This has been very cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's always good to have you here and always good to like record something in person, you know, when we have the opportunity. So, yeah, it's been fun letting you meet, you know, my people here is some of your people out there. So it's just going to be continued cultural exchanges. Yeah, I guess before we get into like topics, do we want to talk a little bit about the one movie we saw? Not like a full review.
Yeah, just a little quick recommendation.
Because it just came out apparently, like. It's top of October.
Yeah, because it was recommended, I guess, just through my algorithm. I saw it. And I watched a little bit of it on a plane, and then I got like maybe 20 minutes in. I'm like, okay, I got to watch this with Will. And it's a movie called It's What's Inside. It's on Netflix, and it was really, really good.
Yeah. It
was inventive in the way that it told its story. It took concepts that we're familiar with and kind of flipped them on its head. Mm-hmm. And literally, we're invested when we're stopping 30 minutes into the movie, trying to guess every character's motivations and which body that they're going to be in. I don't want to spoil it too much. There's context of that. But yeah, and even up until like the last minute of the movie, I had no idea what was happening, or if I could trust my perception of what was happening. Yeah,
we stopped it multiple times to kind of like interpret different things about like how the characters were acting. One guess I made like near the top wound up being true, so I was happy about that surprise. I was wrong. I wasn't able to guess what the context was, so that was still a surprise. There's a lot of really good surprises. I think it's an effective movie. I think it's strong. I think it's real good. I'm glad we watched that over is it like Time Cut or something?
Yeah,
apparently that one isn't that good.
Really?
Apparently it's like a lot of just historical inaccuracies and just not that great. But when we saw the trailer in passing, I'm just like, TV-14, that seems weird for a murder mystery. But yeah, no, It's What's Inside was really good. Acting was good. Yeah, it was a case of pausing a movie not out of frustration, but in front of like, okay, let's predict where this is about to go.
Right. And
are we right? And is who's saying what true? And so on and so forth. So it's like, yeah, I think it's really well shot, well edited. It looks a little bit more expensive than what I had guessed it was, which is impressive about how they use their budget for this really well. It's mostly one location. They have like maybe a handful of others. It was mostly one location. So yeah, that's a high recommendation, I think, from both of us. Just like check out It's What's Inside on Netflix. Also check out, I had a couple people that I worked with on a separate short film. They're in a movie that I believe is now released called Raccoon.
Raccoon.
It is about an insane raccoon on cocaine that kills people.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I like that.
I'll have to send you the trailer. On maybe you can send it to, not even just to react to, just to like do a movie night with it. Maybe y'all can watch it.
Okay, that'd be fun.
I think it came out at the top of October, so I didn't know it was out. So I guess I can like talk about that production.
Like Cocaine Bear, but with a
yes, very much that.
Okay, I dig it.
Yeah, so I guess we can go ahead and go into topics. So John Stewart.
Okay, that's the easiest one.
We'll start with John Stewart and then do worst to best. Well, I guess that worst part is going to be might have some disagreements on.
Very
minor disagreements, but
there's one we can agree on.
Yes, we can agree on best. But yeah, so John Stewart got cast. I want to say like was it top of October or the middle? No, it was the middle of October. It was like 2 weeks ago that all this.
Was it been 2 weeks? 2-3 weeks?
About 3 weeks.
Okay, about 3 weeks.
By now. And it's Aaron Pierre. He was in the running with another British actor.
Yeah, and
whose name I'm forgetting.
I don't remember it either, but he's popular for a movie called Rebel Ridge.
Yeah, that
was taken people by storm on Netflix back in September. And
I still need to see it. I am interested to check it out.
I thought he was good. I thought the movie itself was okay.
That's what I've heard. I've heard the movie is okay, but he's like pretty good in it.
Yeah, I'm like, where has this dude been? And I realized where I saw him in. Did you ever see the movie Old?
No, but I do know he's in it because I saw people saying that was something else that they saw him in. So yeah. I've seen him in like reviews of Old, so I have seen his face.
Yeah, he looks different without facial hair. So he plays like a rapper in that movie called Midsize Sedan. That's his name.
I know you're not lying to me.
M. Night Shyamalan wrote that.
Who's shocked? I do remember that because I was going to go see it, and then years later, everyone's like, "No."
It was okay. I don't think it's one that's going to waste your time. It's definitely an experience. I don't think that's a theater movie. I think that's a movie you kind of watch at home, start and pause to talk shit on.
I mean, the most interesting one is recently with, and this is so off topic, but it was like Trap, where the twist is there is no twist. It's just played straight.
Yeah.
That's not a spoiler for anything because no one knows you don't know the context if you haven't seen it, but it's like, oh, you just went through with that. Okay. But
the twist is revealed very early on, just kind of deflating the anticipation for what you expect the trope to be of an M. Night Shyamalan movie to have a twist.
Right, which is like, yeah, I guess that is a way to have a twist. The twist is like, it's not subverting your expectations beyond the information you're provided.
I mean, there's a twist. I think there's a difference between a twist and a reveal. So there's still reveals that happen in the movie, but twist is done fairly early on.
I agree. That is true. And it got spoiled in the trailer, which in retrospect was a massive marketing mistake.
Truly.
Regardless. So back to Aaron Pierre. So that kind of kicked up some complex conversations. And I was really kind of marinating on this one a little bit. I don't think we had like formally talked about it.
No, but I've heard both sides of it.
I've heard a lot of sides of it. Yeah, I've definitely heard both of it. Like even FD Signifier recently came out with a video about it, basically saying most of what I was thinking, honestly, but I wasn't comfortable saying it out loud, just because I kind of wanted other folks, especially like darker skinned men and whatnot, to kind of lead that conversation. So I know that like. We might have said it once or twice on the pod, but I know that, like, definitely privately, I had conversations with you. I'm like, you ever notice how there's like no light skinned superheroes?
Yeah.
No light skinned male superheroes.
True.
I have to specify there are light skinned women superheroes, and there's issues with that as well. So it's like I'm not. Aaron Pierre's casting. I'm a little bit of two minds on. Actually, more like I'll say 3 minds. One is like, I mean, it definitely looks like John Stewart. He just looks like a light-skinned John Stewart.
I agree.
I think he, based off of my, even though I haven't seen anything of him, high praise for Rebel Ridge, I think is what nudged him over.
Probably.
I think just like the timing was right. It was kind of like Chadwick Boseman for like, I think 42 had come out right before he was cast in Civil War.
Yeah.
So it's like if somebody's on the rise and it's like, this is a star maker, then we want to make a star. I think that's good business. I don't blame if that was like the nudge. If we're talking talent.
Yeah, I could easily see this show being what Lovecraft Country was for Jonathan Majors.
Yeah. It's like, I think, this could be a star-making thing. It's a major, you're on the foundation of what I think is going to be the next successful cinematic universe after MonsterVerse, I guess, in Marvel. People forget that is a universe, and it's still alive and thriving.
It is.
But so it's like there's that. There is, I think, some pretty real and rational conversations, not only about colorism, but also about like the explicit history of John Stewart in particular. Because when Neil Adams and I'm forgetting the name of the other guy that helped create him, they had to like fight tooth and nail to give him like not only his name but also have him be darker skinned in general. So it's like they had a fight. There's a lot of history to that. So I think the historical context of the character might kind of supersede it. But the third thing that I don't think people talk about as much is, and I'm sure James Gunn plays a name in like the process, but he isn't like ultimately the casting director, but he definitely has like an influence because he's the head and shit.
Right.
James movies, like at least this new Superman is already cast kind of weird.
Yeah, it's definitely, with the exception of some of the main people. Like I feel like Superman's a very traditional casting.
It's like
Lois
50-50.
Lane. Yeah, you know,
like Clark, Lois, Jimmy, and Mr. Terrific.
I also think Steve Lumbar. I think the casting choice is oddball, but the way it's presented, seemingly from the set photos, is more traditional.
Yeah. So
shit, we both got the Spidey sense on that.
Yeah. I think it's like this new DC universe is already cast a little uniquely, where it's like half of them look straight out their comics, and the other half, in my opinion, like actor talent wise, dumb. Like right. Remember who was in the short list for Hal Jordan? None of those names made sense to me. And like who they got now, I'm blanking on his name.
Kyle Chandler.
I'm like, well, he looks like Hal out of the four options of what we saw. He looks the most like an older Hal Jordan.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. So it's just like, so he looks like Hal. Aaron Pierre doesn't, outside of his, beautiful eyes, doesn't really look like John.
Like a light skinned John.
He looks like a light skinned John. So it's like I'm of a lot of mixed minds, and I think FD Signifier was able to clarify my thoughts really well, because, and this isn't a grievance or a complaint, it's more so a particular gap of nuance. I think when you're thinking about comic characters, then you think about adaptation. Because I think when we had that conversation, I'm like, think about how many light-skinned male superheroes are. Hancock. He's the only one. And I'm glad.
He's not even a main staple kind of.
Yeah, he's not like a big
character.
two. He just happened to be a superhero, not like a comic.
He wasn't a yeah, exactly.
He wasn't a comic character. He is a superhero. But it's like I am leading with like obviously I'm glad that there's positive male representation for darker skinned men. Mm-hmm. I want that to continue.
Of course.
I think for me personally, and it's like I'm speaking from a place of bias and probably my own privileges, like as a light skinned man, where we navigate the world probably a little bit differently than dark skinned men. I can't think of any from either company, and I think the gap is because no one like the thought process I think of coloring is weirdly binary, where it's like if he's a man and he's black, he has to be brown or dark.
Yeah.
If it's a woman that's black, she's either light or dark.
Yeah.
With like no in between.
Yeah, no mid skin for sure. And I feel like typically with the
and they're inconsistent too, which is another issue, like coloring wise.
I feel like with the adaptations, we don't really see a lot of darker skin black women. I think it's kind of like the reverse of what the black man trope is.
Exactly.
A lot of darker skin people, kind of like what Every Signifier talked about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely feel you on like the split mind thing. I think we talked about it before it was official.
Yeah.
I was like, I think the other guy looks more like him skin tone wise, but I feel like Aaron Pierre was probably from a business point of view, probably the smarter choice. I feel like he's more classically handsome. He's on the rise as a star right now, and he has the voice for it. I can easily see him.
Yeah,
saying,
I have heard his voice. I'm like, he already has the eye color, so it's like his guy is going from like yellow to green. I'm just like,
It's believable.
Yeah, it's like he's hot, and I think that's just what nudged it. Because I hate to disrespect the other guy. I'm just like, nah, it's late.
Yeah, no.
I'm just forgetting what that short list was. But even from that short list, I know a lot of people were like fan casting Damson Idris, but when we talked the other day, you had the perfect one. Fucking Aldous Hodge. I'm like, Aldous Hodge is right there.
Yeah.
It was
38, but
good. But
you
good.
still do it.
They're doing older actors anyways. I'm like, let them play younger. It's all right. We do it all the time. It's just like, age older cast down. Tom Holland has been playing a high schooler for 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, go for it. But yeah, I think the concern from black comic fans in particular isn't coming out of nowhere. It is from a place of just like, not only does this character's history show that he's consistently been like, at a minimum, very brown skin.
Yeah.
To dark skin.
Yeah.
So it's like, same with T'Challa. Like, a light-skinned T'Challa for me probably wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
As much as I would love to play T'Challa, a light-skinned T'Challa just wouldn't make sense.
That'd be very weird.
It'd be weird.
T'Challa.
It's like,
But we haven't had any light skin. Like, even thinking of like Bishop in Days of Future Past, they got like a very
he's brown skin.
Yeah, no, that was a very chocolate man. That was a very dark skin man.
I'm vaguely remembering him from Days.
He was he was like a French guy who played him.
But it's like there's not, and even as I was thinking about the conversation, I'm like, there's not a lot of big. I'm not saying that there aren't successful light skinned male actors in Hollywood. There are. Like, again, I'm saying it's like Will Smith is probably the biggest. What I'm saying is, if you're thinking about like big star, again, same argument that FD said. So just watch FD's video for really this conversation. But if you're thinking about like big top tier names of like big black stars, be it American or British, or both really, it's like most of them are like brown skin to darker skin. I think that's great.
Yeah, let's clarify a little bit. There's not to say that there are no leading men that are not dark skin. But the light skinned men trope is typically associated with like the romantic lead or like like an era of softness, kind of going back to those memes that we going back and forth with all the time, like how light skin handle problems, how versus dark skin handle problems.
Like the light skin versus dark skin memes that were on like Instagram and Twitter and shit.
Yeah, and they're very like soft and sassy, and it's like obviously it's caricatured, but like, we deserve some positive representation too.
Yeah, so it's just like, and this has always been my thing. And again, this is me. So you know how like E-Man had the thing about recasting T'Challa? You know what my thing has been for years? Where's the black Disney prince?
Yeah.
Because we don't have one. T'Challa was the closest one we had.
Yeah.
Who was owned by another company that was then their subsidiary, and then he died. So it's just like, we don't have a black Disney prince. That's always been the hill that I've been on. I don't really care about that negotiate, but it's like, we don't have a black Disney prince. I'm glad that little black girls have Tiana, and now Ariel. Keep going. I think there's an Afro-Latino one with the one from Wish. Keep going. Don't stop that train. I want more. So
let me ask you this: the black Disney prince, who would you pair him up with? Would it be a white princess?
No. Good. See, that's partially what bothered me with Princess and the Frog is it felt like trying to kill two birds with one stone, because the Naveen, again, handsome series of painted lines. But his fictional country is like called like Moldova or something, and it's like, which is very Southeast Asian inspired. You look at his parents; it's like seems very like almost like a mix of Southeast Asian and a little bit of South American cultures.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, his hair texture. So people thought he was black just because he was brown. I'm like, no, he's just brown.
Exactly.
And I'm like, you tried to sneak shit and do. It's like, I'm like, no, do both.
Yeah.
Do both. We get, it's like, and I'm glad we have Aladdin. I'm glad we have Prince Naveen. So it's like bring the beauty of these various cultures. Tell that story. Tell fairy tales. Tell fantasy. Shit like that. But don't try to sneak and do like, well, we'll get a brown of one and a black of the other and put them together.
Yeah. Maybe.
And I'm not saying Tiana needs to be with a black guy. I don't give a shit. She doesn't exist. I'm saying that it's just like, it feels like you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. Where it's like, well, we'll make everybody happy. No, because you're still missing.
But not fully committing to it.
You're not fully committing to it.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, just make two different movies and have one that celebrates Southeast Asian culture and one that celebrates black culture.
Right.
Because it's like
Louisiana.
Louisiana. There's a hell of black people. Where the fuck he had to come on a boat to get to her in the first place? You had to make up a reason for him to come around.
We can do it like an African one, but it's just to bring it back to the
going back to Aaron Pierre and everything. It's just it's like there is yeah, there are leading men that are light skinned in Hollywood. They exist, but I also don't think they're as huge. But I think part of this issue, what makes it complex with John Stewart, is what it really highlighted to me is that there's not really light skinned light skinned male characters. Let me be specific. Light skinned male like superheroes,
Right.
be it mainstream or even in some of the
I think Bishop is like more mid skin.
yeah, he's like brown.
He's brown.
I'd say Bishop is brown. Like it's like again, I want a dark skinned Storm.
Yeah.
But it's like the one that, and when we had this conversation, I'm like, the one that would have been possible would have been Miles Morales because he's half Puerto Rican, but also there are dark skinned Afro Latina people. So him being dark skinned it was a 50-50. He could have been either or.
They've been light skinned in the game and not the movie, but something else. Maybe just the game. They lightened him up for the first Spider-Man.
Oh yeah. He was a tad bit lighter, and then he was like kind of just brown by Spider-Man 2. And
they darkened him up for Spider-Man 2, gave him the waves.
Yeah, it's like when his hairline got fixed, and everything like that, he started to, even his tone evened out a little bit. But it's like, yeah, and I think his actor is he brown or is he lighter skinned? I think he's brown.
I don't know. You met him.
Najee Jeter.
Yeah.
I know Shameik Moore is like dark skinned.
Yeah.
Dark skinned and handsome. It's like good for them. I want them to continue to have work. I want us to continue to have this. It's more like we need to add. So the weird thing with John Stewart is it's a little bit of a have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
Where it's like there isn't really a lot of like big, like lighter skinned male stars or people that are like up there. So it's like if you think of who's high, it'll be Sam Jackson, Denzel Washington, Idris Elba, Daniel Kaluuya, Lakeith Stanfield, people like that. Great actors, talented actors. But I don't think anyone's gonna be shit. Even if you branch it out even more, it's like Kevin Hart, huge.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like we need to see like the action star because the only action star I can think of that is light skinned in recent history is Mac on Agents of Shield.
Yeah,
and that's
that was
years back on a TV show.
Yeah, that was years back, and he didn't even have no powers. He was just a secret agent.
Exactly.
But it's like I'm not seeing a bunch of I'm not seeing Michael Ealy as War Machine or some shit.
No.
We
did get Terrence Howard as War Machine.
We did, and he messed that up.
Yeah.
So it's like that's on him. It's like we were close. But it's like, but yeah, Don Cheadle is another.
I wonder if there was outcry when that whole thing happened. When granted, it was 2008, the early age of the internet. Yeah, Terrence Howard was cast as Rhodey because Rhodey's traditionally more dark skinned. Yeah. And they pivoted to make him more darker skin.
Yeah. Well, apparently, so part of that, just because I've been listening to the book, I think they wanted.
Don Cheadle?
I think Don Cheadle was on the short list.
Oh, originally?
Yeah, he was on the short list to be him, and so when things fell through with Terrence, then they offered it to Don, and he had like 2 hours to decide, and it was at his kid's birthday party, and talked about it with like his wife really quickly, and said yes. So that's the story behind that is really fucking crazy.
14 plus years later.
Yeah, and good for him. So it's just like it's the tricky thing I think with this John Stewart situation is, while I'm not saying that there is no colorism in Hollywood because that shit runs deep. I would say it has it has different consequences for men than I think it does for women. So it's like, I haven't seen, who was old boy from Diary of a Mad Black Woman? The dude from NCIS. Shameik Moore. Shamar Moore. So it's like, yeah, Shamar Moore I think could play a superhero. I think Michael Ealy could be a superhero, but.
I don't know who they play though, but.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody immediately comes to mind, but it's like, yeah.
Would it bother you if they cast a light-skinned dude to play Static?
Not really.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
Yeah, it's like, no, I'd be fine with that because just like he's a black kid. Now, if he didn't have locks, yeah, that'd bother me. But
what if he was like Drake's complexion?
I mean, as long as he don't act like Drake, it's fine.
All right.
Now, if he looked like that mixed kid from that episode of Atlanta. The really high yellow one.
Oh, yeah.
Now that, I'd be a little bit like, we're skirting a little close to the sun. Maybe that's my internalized colorism or some shit coming out. Or reverse colorism or some weird bullshit.
You're white!
You are white! But yeah, it's like, no. Because it's like Static is traditionally brown, but if Static was light, it's going to be like, I would probably give it a pass because as far as I know, and I could be wrong about like Dwayne McDuffie and their writing for the character, but it's just like, well, he black. Like, yeah, if we get like, you know, because like, you know, Icon and Rocket, you remember them?
Yeah.
So it's like if Icon was,
well, Icon's an alien.
Well, yeah, but he's also a black alien.
I thought he became black to blend in. He became
like Martian Manhunter. Okay, the perfect example. Like if Icon or like Martian Manhunter were light skinned, I think you could be okay with that and get away with that. But if Rocket was light skinned, I would feel weird about it. So it's the only thing I think that the thing that makes it I think explicitly weird with this is that his creators said he's supposed to be dark skinned. Or he's supposed to be brown skinned to dark skinned. And I'm like, if it wasn't for that, I'd probably be more like, well, you know, just like, let the talent speak for itself. But it's like his creators, you know, one of them is dead.
Let's hope they don't pull a Zoe Saldana in the that one movie.
In every movie? Oh, in the Nina Simone movie. God, that was bad.
Yeah.
And that movie bombed. Like people nobody went to see it. It critically got panned. So it's like, well, y'all fucked that up in the first place. You should have cast somebody that, I don't know, looked like Nina Simone.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's more, but also, Chadwick Boseman played Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall is our skin tone.
Yeah.
Thurgood Marshall is high yellow. Same thing with Denzel as Malcolm X.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, they're talented as fuck. And I don't think, like, if a white person goes to see the Malcolm X movie, they're going to be like, oh, yeah. Like, I don't think they're going to be like, hey, wait a second. That's not historically accurate.
Wait a damn minute.
Wait a second. He ain't red bone. He ain't got that red hair to him. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I'm going to see the movie and go check out the project. I hope it's just well written and well executed. But yeah, I definitely was kind of like, well, we got one. Finally, it's like we don't have nobody. Like I can't think of. I'm glad that there's being more exposure for black talent across the board, across various genres and mediums, and we need it. I'm happy for that. I'm always going to be happy for that. It does. I'm making this about me. It's like it is nice sometimes to see somebody that looks like you a little closer. Like Black Panther was like a big first step. It's like finally somebody black. At first, that's all we just like.
First black leading in Marvel Studios.
Yeah, so. We're like, oh my god, finally somebody black. And it's like, and even for the black women, it's like, yes, black women that are treated with respect for the most part. You know, black men that are competent and leaders. Yeah. Good stuff. Great first step. We have to keep going because there is a spectrum of, you know, representation. Like, and we're gonna get to Agatha later. Like seeing, like the whole show just be openly like queer and trans friendly. Yeah. Great. I love it. We're not stopping this train though. I'm sorry. No. It's like, you know, when there was a guy kiss, when there was a girl kiss, I was excited for both. Yeah. I was like, great. We got to keep doing this. Don't get shy now. Right. Don't get skittish now. You got to keep pushing forward. You can't chicken out. So it's like, so they're going to have to protect this one in particular with just like strong writing and strong performances. And he's going to have to earn, I think, a lot of black fans, I think, respect from it. Because I think the critique and I think the concern at the end of the day is valid. I think it comes from an earnest place. I don't think any of it comes from a malicious place, and I totally understand. I have my own individual, I think, biases where I can let it slide a little easier because it's like, okay, this is a guy that looks a little bit more like me. It's nice for us to get one of these. But I totally understand where everyone's coming from, where it's like, you know, because I remember seeing him in Justice League. Yeah. He was brown. Yeah. Justice League Unlimited. He was brown. Any comic book I saw him in his first cover issue, dark skin with an afro. Yeah. I respect the fuck out of John Stewart as a character, his creation, his foundation, what he means to people, and I don't want that ever to be taken away from anybody. Yeah, I think light skinned kids are people who are of varying skin complexions are going to be able to take away and see themselves within these characters, and also really depends on the kind of story that they're telling as well. Yeah, are they going to explore black issues via the
the framework that is the Lantern show, or is he just going to be a lantern that happens to be black? Well, we don't know. We don't know the spectrum of it, but
yeah, I hope they get his characterization right.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Definitely now. At the end of the day, I think the real solution is artists and writers for comics, both mainstream and indie, need to. And shout out to Ray Comics. They have a book that I caught up on recently. Something Angels. Fuck. I had it upstairs. I'll have to plug it in later. It's a good book. Something Angels. God damn it. It's not Midnight Angels. But those are the homies. Shout out to Ray Comics, RAE. We need a greater spectrum of color representation for black characters.
True. Yeah.
And shout outs to them. I think, if I recall, they have like lighter skin and brown skin and darker skin characters in that book. Like, it's a sci-fi like race book type thing.
Okay.
So it's a good. I'll show it to you later. But yeah, it's like artists need to know that dark and medium brown are not the only shades of blackness for men, and they also need to know that like yellow and orange are not the only shades of blackness for women. I think that is the crux of the issue. Yeah. Because it's like, you can introduce more, like, Hobie Brown could have been light skinned. He's brown skinned and dark skinned. Good for him.
It's great.
I'm glad. It's like, I do not believe that there is an oversaturation of dark and brown skin representation whatsoever for characters in comic books. I openly welcome I'm rooting for everybody black. I'm just saying there's like, artists need to understand that there's more shades to our ethnicity. And I think you will see that vastly more in independent comics than you will in mainstream comics. But mainstream comics like also have it, like Storm's book now. She looks great, but it's also, I think, the first time in a major book where I've seen her with textured hair,
which is great. It's wild it took that long to happen.
Yeah, design wise, it looks amazing because it's like, her hair looks cloud like, but you can tell it's like curls and coils. Like, that takes thought. Right. So it's just like, you have to expand your mind and look at, like, I think kind of like artists did back in the day, is like use better examples. Like, I read a 80s book and then the current one that she was in. I'm like, yeah, she looks very different those times. In one of them, she looks like Grace Jones, and the other one, she looks like, probably kind of closer like Lupita or something. But I don't know. Any last thoughts on the John Stewart thing?
No, I think we covered it. I think I'm just excited to see what he does for the role, and yeah, hopefully, something good can come out of this show and his career.
Yeah. Hoping it does well. Hope they take the criticism in mind just for future projects and stuff like that. You want to talk about Joker?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's talk about Joker Folie.
Deux.
Full spoilers for Joker Folie. Full transparency. I saw that movie under the influence, and it kicked in right at like the halfway mark, and it made it aggressively where I
saw it sober, and I did not hate it as much as everybody else.
I hated it. That is probably the second worst movie I saw this year. Madam Web's still the worst. Madam Web pissed me off with every step. At least for Joker 2, I can say it was...
Was Magical Negroes this year or last year?
Oh, that was this year. Okay, third.
Was that this year?
I'm pretty sure. I think it was March. I think it was after Madam Web, because it was like a couple weeks apart where we were talking about that. It was remember, but they tried to wipe it from theaters in our minds, like tried to make us forget how dog shit that was.
Damn.
Yeah. So Joker's third. Okay, you reminded me of my hate, reinvigorated me. But it's like things I can say positively about it, like, I mean, good use of the budget. It's well shot. Like it looks good. Like visually, it has. I mean, it has themes. Everybody's trying. It's like, so it's well executed, and there's a great part that we'll get to a little bit. It's like, and I like the predominancy of like the court stuff actually.
Yeah, I have conflicting feelings about the movie because I think the way it was executed was hindered the intention of what they were trying to do. And I feel like it was a few things that kind of held it back. One, it being a musical, because it was never meant to be the type of story to be a musical, given that it was a courtroom drama and a story about a parasocial relationship and kind of how that can be manipulated. And man, because the story is essentially about what happens when somebody who doesn't know the effects of their actions fucks around and finds out, both for what they perceive to be what they truly want and for the effects of the outcome of them achieving the thing that they wanted. Like at the end, the first Go Joker is about a man who feels forgotten and unloved, discovering the truth about his past and reaching a breaking point, which results with him killing somebody on live TV. The fallout of that movie, it's almost like akin to like something that, rather than being the origin of a villain, it's like the realistic fallout for if something like that were to happen in life, right? Like, okay, we go to a trial. Okay, this person, like people like Marilyn Manson, develop like erratic fans, and then that feeds that person's insecure desire of feeling like they're loved. But then it's not really about them. It's about the thing that they did, which was said in like a state of dysregulated rage and frustration, and then having to put on the face of that, of what he's perceived to be, so he can feel loved, but realizing that that face that he used to rage war against what he felt were society's wrongs, whether that was his intention at the time or retroactively became his intention because of how the media perceived him, it took on a life of its own. And then he realized, oh, this is not the thing that I want to be. And the people in the movie and the real life audience was like, well, fuck that and fuck you too. And the movie's like, yeah, fuck you too. And then he stabs him. And then Todd Phillips is like, yeah, fuck you, audience, because you wanted the fucking Joker. And it's not about the Joker. It's about the effects of mental health. And I felt like it was...
I did like the ending, actually.
I liked the ending because it's more about the effects of what somebody like that
would have.
It's about it's about an individual's cause and effect about his surroundings. But because it's fuck around and find out. But it's clouded with this musical element, which is not additive to the story, because musicals typically function as one or two things, right? It can either be something that gives you further insight into the characters that you're watching on screen, or it adds to the plot, or it's doing both if it's a good musical. They're giving you further insight that you wouldn't have achieved through dialogue, and it is advancing the story to a place where we couldn't have gotten to it without this particular piece of media. The thing about this movie is it's a jukebox musical,
which can still
where all the
work.
musicals take place within the person's head, which means it's not necessarily doing this.
A jukebox musical is just a musical that uses pre-existing songs.
Okay, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, it's a movie. It's a musical that uses pre-existing songs. Granted, can that work well? Yes.
Yeah, because Moulin Rouge exists.
Moulin Rouge and Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia exists.
But this movie doesn't allow the effects of what the music in the musical is doing, because it's all predominantly within Harley Quinn and Joker's heads. So it's just a movie stopping to have numbers without actually progressing the plot, which only pads the runtime from the stuff that's actually interesting, which doesn't give the movie the chance to explore. But I think what adds to that is, one, they market it as a musical, which is very deceptive to its audience.
And everybody's doing that now, and I don't know why. I don't know what. Dumb. Even Wicked is doing. First of all, Wicked is just minor aside. Did you know that Wicked is a part 1?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know that till like a week ago. I'm like, what the?
They should market it that way.
But it's like, first of all, and it's based. I know Wicked the musical is based off a book, also called Wicked. But it's like, I guess they're going to incorporate aspects of the book into the musical. But why are you not marketing something that most people associate with the musical?
Well, I feel like
as a musical.
Because I feel like the people that know they're going to see it already, so they want to get people in with the story, which is there's still.
But that's so that is like, but that's if people don't like musicals, they're gonna not want to see it. So just be upfront.
But also, to be
fair,
because
the shit happened with Mean Girls, they're like, oh, I thought it was a Mean Girls remake.
But to be fair, the original Wizard of Oz, which this is clearly based on, is also a musical. So it's in the DNA of the franchise.
Yeah, it is, and it's like, and that's based off a book as well. But yeah, it's in the DNA of just like what you're trying to do is just like, music has always been a big component of the popularity of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
You know,
It has been.
Yeah, it's like there's no place like home. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is one thing. You know, it's like amongst others, The Wiz.
Never seen The Wiz.
Great movie.
I need to.
For the most part, no, it's good. Okay, watch the live stage version. It's fantastic.
Okay.
I think it's Amber Riley plays Dorothy.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So it's like I would argue that one's better than the film version. Still good. It's good, but it's like Michael Jackson and not Donna Summer. I'm forgetting the name. But yeah. So it's like, sorry. Go ahead with what you were saying about just your thoughts.
No, I think that this movie, if it wasn't padded by the runtime and was actually given the chance to explore the relationship and the elements of perception, what's real, what I can trust, what I can't trust about Harley Quinn and Joker's relationship, or Lee in the movie and Arthur's relationship, and the trial itself. I feel like if it was just about those things, and then maybe Arthur getting to revel or get to experience directly a little bit more the effects of what his actions have done, I think the movie would have been a lot better. And I can't say it would have been extremely well received because I don't think this is what people actually wanted. But you know what? No, I don't think it has to do with what people actually wanted, because I feel like people are...
I don't think...
people don't know what they want until they get it. I feel like that's... Unless they're asking for it. But I feel like in most stuff, like Guardians of the Galaxy, like a bunch of other projects, people will watch those things.
I think
they
it
didn't
depends.
ask for it. It is circumstantial.
It's circumstantial because, like, No Way Home was very much... Everybody wanted this one thing, and they gave it to us, and yay, they did the thing.
Yeah.
But I'd say Guardians 3 is... What you're saying is like, oh, I didn't know I wanted something like this that was this
any
good.
of the Guardians, actually.
Yes. Yeah, it's like, yeah. The Guardians versus No Way Home are very different that I think lean to each. I think Joker... in particular is one where you should not listen to that fan base.
Yeah.
This was... Joker 2 was like Todd Phillips duct taping 2 grenades to his hands and like running into a crowded street. Because it's like, if you're gonna make me burn, I'm taking you with me. Like, you're riding this bomb to hell with me. Because it's like, he's like... He had to have known. He had to have known.
I feel like when you're making a film, you're just like... One, apparently there were no test screenings for the movie. The studio gave him full faith.
Why would you not test screen a musical?
They didn't test screen
That's
the entire
fucking...
thing.
Well, actually, I think that happened with Cats, too. That's why that shit bombed. That didn't get some fucking quality control behind that.
Yeah, there's no quality control.
You gotta quality control your guy. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you always have to listen to what the fans say. Because like you said, I'll go half in. Fans don't always know or always have the right answer.
Yeah.
Because, like, if Marvel always listened to the fans, they'd be fucking stagnant right there. You need risk. You need to try.
Agatha All Along.
Yeah, their best show.
Great.
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't have it unless you kind of took swings and took risks.
We wouldn't have a WandaVision either.
Right. But you gotta... Who is in the room with you gauging these opinions, creating these ideas? Because I think... And it's one thing if it's like an original idea. So like if Jordan Peele's like pitching Nope or something, like it's like you could probably run that without a test screening and just see how audiences react. Because
you can say this is an original idea. The character's not original, but the screenplay, we've never seen Joker on trial before, at least to my knowledge.
Yeah, and that's definitely a possibility because it's been around damn near 100 years. But it's like I would say like conceptually and thematically the ideas have been there, and the fact that this is when it comes to pre-existing characters with, I would argue, notorious fan bases, especially if you're doing something for one of the big two. It'd be different if it was like an indie character, like even if it was like an Invincible movie or something like that. Or like a Walking Dead. Yeah, it's just like when it comes to something that has a fan base that's relatively vocal to some extent, I think that's when you have to start paying attention and being a little bit more in tune to make a deliberate decision.
I can agree with that.
It's like you can't be too surprised, but it's like, so Todd Phillips was like, I don't know what universe you live in where it's like, I'm gonna make a solo movie about the Joker, one of the arguably the most famous villain in the history of comic book media, and think you're not getting off with them trying to milk that into a franchise with spin-offs and a bunch of other interconnected bullshit. It's like, I don't know what separate version of reality that you're in where you think that you get to make one and walk away. The Wachowskis, making The Matrix, they were like, look, we're doing this, so you can either do it your way or not. Which I give Lana Wachowski props, even though I like Matrix Resurrections. I think it was Lana that directed it. She's like, okay, fine, fuck it. I'm going to take your money. I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm going to bring attention to it. And if this is a bomb, I'm taking it with me. Because it's like, it's not even that I don't care. It's like, I would rather this be in my hands and do whatever the fuck I want with it if I know you're going to do something with it anyways. Yeah. And I feel like for him to, and I don't know if he thought this ahead of time or not. I don't want to speak for the man. I'm sure he's like a fine guy and all. But it seems foolish. It's like if Matt Reeves did the Batman and said, yeah, I'm only doing one.
Right.
Yeah, it's like yeah, maybe you.
Yeah.
But this guy is like, this Robert Pattinson is going to be here. This Batman is going to be here, whether it's you directing it and writing it, or Robert's in the suit or not. We've recast Batman before in the same series. Didn't give a shit. Mm-hmm. So it's like, look, either you're doing it or we're doing it. Right. And if we do it, who knows what's going to happen? But everyone will think of you because you started this train. Yeah. You started this ride that we're on now. So it's like, on the one hand, while I don't always think it's invaluable to have an art that says fuck you to its audience, but I'm also of the mindset of just like, and I say this as somebody that fundamentally hates the Joker as a character, so I'm already coming in with a massive amount of bias. What's to gain?
What do you mean?
What is the gain by giving the middle finger to the people that made your first endeavor profitable? I'm not saying that you can't dive into the themes, because I do think thematically there is stuff to chew on. Theoretically. Like, I think a lot of the stuff with Harleen works rather well, of her being like somebody that definitely has kind of those fans that were influenced, like, oh, you're not who I thought you were, you're just some guy, and it's like, I'm disappointed in like understanding the reality of you just being, a crazy domestic terror, like a crazy serial killer, versus just like this big ego-driven like maniac that I wanted you to be in the parasocial fixation of my mind.
I think the movie needed to focus up. I think it was trying to do too many things. That's my main issue. Because there's greatness, there's nuggets of greatness in there, and I think the scene that highlights that most is the one that we mostly agreed on.
Yeah, that's the one.
That is the nucleus.
That's an Oscar-worthy scene in a dog shit movie, which is a strange instance to have.
It's the Gary Puddle scene.
Yeah, the whole scene and sequence with Gary Puddles, which reminded me that Gary Puddles was in the first one and was the most sympathetic character in that one still, was beautifully executed start to finish. That was the part that actually got me to laugh. That was the part where I'm like, oh, the Joker can be funny.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the character, I mean just like Arthur Fleck in general, like as a character can be funny. Even starting off, I almost wrote notes down when I was in it, because I think I was by no, it was a couple people in my theater. Like, even how the movie opens, I'm worried about Joaquin Phoenix. I get dedicating yourself to your role and willing to like making sacrifices for the expectations of a role. It's like, I'm going to be working on some, and director asks, like, hey, are you willing to dye your hair? I'm like, yeah. Just don't ask me to cut it off. But yeah, dye it. Sure. I've had my hair dyed before the first time we worked together. I don't really mind that. But seeing his body so, like, emaciated and, like, frail and hollow, it wasn't even like, oh, look at Arthur, so, like, destitute and probably abused. I was like, Joaquin looks sickly. And I'm worried about his health and well-being after filming that.
Probably.
Like, it pulled me out of the narrative, because now I'm just concerned for your talent's safety. Like, I'm like, how it started, I'm just like, ugh. And not like oh, that's gross, I feel so, bad. Wow, he's been through a lot. Like, psychologically, he's just seems disconnected and he's silent and not saying anything. It was just long. And it was just a long, drawn-out sequence of him being just like marched through the gallows of Arkham, and I'm like, that doesn't look in any way something that a human being should be, and we treat the situations that put you there with dignity. It makes me look at like the system where it's like, and I don't know if he just did that on his own. I don't know if like the studio wanted him to do it. Like my guess is maybe he just did it for himself to like keep up with the character, because he was like gangly in the first one too.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to that extent, I think, in the new one.
I feel like it was about the same.
It might have been about the same. I could be wrong there, but I'm just like, yeah, I'm just like, if it's pulling me out just because I think it almost feels like it's too far, where it feels like it can be a form of abuse to your talent, whether intentional or not.
Well, Joaquin Phoenix is known for doing and going to the extremes. It didn't really bother me because I was used to, because that's what I just viewed the character as from the first one. It's surprising that he's still as slender as he is, given that he's in prison. I feel like they'd force him to eat or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he looked a little like he was slender as shit in the first one. He actually looked a little skinnier to me. In this one, at least that was to me. I can very much be wrong.
Because I've seen him in other roles in between this movie.
There's also how his body language was too, because he was really like hunched up and walking.
Yeah,
I think that might have made him look skinnier to me.
Possibly.
So he is what, like you were saying, he was the same.
But yeah, he's done movies like Come On, Beau is Afraid, and like a couple other movies. What was the one where he's like, is it Only God Forgives? Is that the one where he's like, kind of like the Punisher? I don't remember if that's. I think that's before Joker actually, but I feel like I'm not concerned about his retention of not really even retention. Him being so skinny, I think it's the yo-yoing more so that I'm concerned about.
Well, yeah, that's partially what I guess I was referring to, is like having to crash. Whatever you have to do to get your body to that point is nothing that's like healthy or sustainable for an amount of time. So and trying to go back to a normal weight. I'm like, I hope they had enough professionals on set to help him with it. Because like when Christian Bale did that shit for The Machinist 2 years back, I'm like, shouldn't have to do that. I don't, and I know there's a lot of actors that are method, but I'm also very much somebody that's like, I'm not really into method. I'm like, if you can't access something in a performance, then I don't think your physicality should, like, your health shouldn't be at the core detriment. Now, granted, I may also be a little bit what's the word? Not biased, hypocritical, because seeing Hugh Jackman in Deadpool and Wolverine, was very much a moment of just like body envy. I'm just like, holy shit, he looks crazy. But also knowing that he was like dehydrated, taking water pills for 72 hours. I don't think that's not fucking healthy either.
No.
He looked amazing.
No, they have to do a lot to get them to that point. They have to like be in, I can't remember what the word is, but like, yeah, that state where their muscles are constantly popping for the camera.
Yeah.
That can't be healthy. Granted, is it healthier? Probably, but.
Slightly, because you have more like mass on you, but it's like, no, it's like you're having to stop and pause. Like, you can't drink water for several days. You can only eat very, very strict and specific diets. Like, you got to have like nutrition and medical staff on set. At that point, I'm just like, dog, roll in the CGI.
Exactly.
I would rather, or practical effects of some sort of like visual effects to get it to that point. Like, we'll talk about Agatha later. Like, even the skull was practical and probably like touched up with CG. Just do that. Like, yes, I think you can sacrifice for your art if you want to. I don't think it should be mandatory in order to make great art.
I agree.
If you want to, I can't stop you, but I am going to be like, Jackman I'm less worried about, because I think him and his team know his body. It's not healthy. And I don't think anyone should do it or aspire to do anything like that with their bodies. But I think if you see extremes, like Jackman versus Phoenix is like, you have one extreme and then the natural endpoint of that extreme. So it's like if Jackman was like to keep going, he would end up like Joaquin. And then you would see that it's like, that's sickly.
Yeah. Versus
just like, oh, that's sexy, that's aesthetic. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it healthy. It's still bad.
Yeah, they're both spectrums of bad, and I feel.
Yeah, it's just one is much farther down the line.
Yeah, I hope Joaquin's doing okay now, though.
Yeah, like I hope him and Jackman are healthy. I mean, we haven't heard anything about any issues with their health or complications at all in the short term, at least. But no, I sincerely hope both of them are okay physically after putting their bodies through those ridiculous amounts of like emaciation. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they did touch it up with VFX or some shit. Maybe I'm just entirely missing the mark and harping on this point over nothing. But I guess getting back to just the narrative and the things that did and didn't work. It's like, I think, yeah, my biggest grievance, honestly, with the movie is that it's just a shitty musical.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I
one
only
thing
like
to...
one song. It was The Joker Is Me. That's the only song I cared for in the music. Because I feel like that's the only song that gave us insight into the elevation of the Joker's character. Because I want to say that's the scene right before the Gary Puddle scene. And
I didn't like his singing throughout it either.
Well, that's the one where it did work for me. Because that's the one that he felt like the Joker. And he didn't really have a great singing voice, which is weird. Because I think he did a movie called Walk the Line where he actually could sing.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I haven't seen that movie.
It's weird because it's like... It was weird going into it because I was almost certain that I've heard him sing before. I'm like, so you can sing, but why does it not sound good?
Like, maybe it's like this is what Arthur sounds like singing, and not Joaquin sounds like singing.
And that is probably a part of it. I'm not expecting Arthur Fleck to be some, talented show tune artist. And there's a couple sequences that visual. I'm like, okay, that works. Like the smoking was just way too overdone for me. Like every 5 seconds, it's like
he's chain smoking, yeah.
Yeah, like chain smoking and singing. I'm just like, look, whether you're doing this live or not, I don't think they were, which is thank God. I'm like, I know people smoked a lot in the 70s into the 80s. This seems egregious,
excessive.
But yeah, just like to the point of just like, all right, bro, this is almost like comical where everyone's like, can I get a cig? Can I bum a cig? You got a cigarette? I'm like, dog.
I mean, some people do be like that. Just stay with the cigs, packs a day.
That's a personal problem.
It is a personal problem.
But it's like, and I get that it's like indicative of the times and probably some issues, some additional issues. But it's just like, again, for a musical, that means now you have to weave that into your narrative.
Not necessarily.
You
can.
Not your.
It's a necessity.
So okay, yeah. Let me rephrase that actually. Then it's like it's not that you have to weave it into your narrative, but if you're making this such a highlight, you have to take this into consideration when you're shooting. Versus just like you could have just not had as many cigarettes or not have them as much in the scenes
around the Joaquin choice more than Todd Phillips' choice, because I feel like if we didn't have him smoking, nobody would have noticed.
Still a bad choice.
I think Joaquin, as an actor, smokes, and he wanted to add that to the character. I think that's what that was.
Well, then he made a bad choice, in my opinion. Because, like, yeah, the one, I think it was the Joker Is Me sequence. Yeah, it looked cool seeing him, like, backlit through the cigarette smoke. I would have been fine without it. I don't think it, like, made the scene. Like, yeah, cinematography-wise, it looks good. It's cool. You could have also just done it through a filter. Yeah. You could have had him start smoking, and then, like, through the filter is how it lingers, but he just sings.
Yeah, smoking didn't really bother me that much, to be honest.
It bothered me because there was a point where I just, like, I just kept noticing it. Because it kept happening around the song sequences where they would smoke and sing, and I know they're probably not actually like singing and using their voices, but it seems
also those sequences are in their head.
Yeah, a lot of those are in their head, but in terms of, I guess for me, just looking at it in a literal sense of reflective visual language, it seems counterintuitive. Yes, it's in their head, but now it's like, well, then why not just take the cigarette out? And so I think the only reason it bothered me because it happened so much. And I wouldn't have noticed if it didn't happen like every 2 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like that's more of a nitpick than like a narrative issue, though.
Yeah, that's definitely like a nitpick. Negative issue is really just like, I mean, the shots just linger way too fucking long.
Some of them do.
That is actually...
The movie's definitely padded in its runtime. Doesn't use its time effectively. I can agree with that.
Yeah, it's just like, I think... The dream sequences, or like the fantasies and whatnot, I think are kind of the highlights where I'm like, oh, they're being more stylistic and creative. But then beyond that, I guess the reality, and maybe they're just like, to reinforce the hellhole that is this version of Gotham, is just kind of boring to look at. Because it was very like pale. And again, that's consistent with the first one.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to put my finger on it. I think they did more interesting stuff. And maybe it's just because it's only really like 2 locations.
For the most part, yeah.
It's predominantly like 2 major locations. So it makes the flatter colors look even flatter because it's not a lot of variety. Because it's like a prison and a courtroom. Yeah. It's not like the Rainbow Metropolis in those places, really.
Yeah, the first movie had a lot of dynamic to it because it was a bunch of locations and
like the
rising and falling of the tension.
Yeah, like the bathroom.
It was pretty stagnant throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, like the bathroom sequence was like green tinted. or there were different colors in his mother's house, or he was in the city, or he was there was I remember just like the kind of yellowish tint of him. I think he was talking about like his caseworker or something, or something like it was either that or him being on the bus or some shit. It's like there are a couple scenes with that, so it's like I feel like because there are more locations, there are more opportunities to do stuff, and it's not that there aren't locations in this, but I feel like you kind of get limited by that, so it just felt a little visually flatter, except for the fantasy sequences. I'll I can be fair in that regard. It's like, yeah, they have used color well, and it was stylistic, and I think those worked, even though I didn't think the singing worked too well from Joaquin. Gaga is
She's Gaga.
Yeah, she's Gaga. She's fine. I wasn't really worried about her. She did her part well. All right, let's talk about Mr. Puddles. I don't want to be like the biggest dick to this movie because I know a lot of people like it. Most people don't like it. Most people don't like it, but it's different than the kind of hate I have for it because I think I gave the original a B, and I didn't care for it just because I'm just like, yeah, this is shit that seems obvious to me. So it's just like, again, I know people are like, it's Scorsese movies fused together. I'm like, yeah, sure, but also just like that motivation is just like I feel like it's been done plenty of times.
I'd never seen a comic book movie like that at that point. I'd never seen Taxi Driver or Kings of Comedy.
Yeah,
so I think that was like blown away by the execution, like the tension of it kind of is what resonated with me. Not resonated, but like was what the thing that drawed emotion out of me and draw like this tension, this uncomfortable experience. And I feel like art should inspire feeling. If you walk out feeling nothing, like the next movie we're going to talk about, then it's failed at its job. But I
think that's it. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I feel like the movie, this one didn't have enough in any direction to really feel fulfilling in a way that gives you a higher sense of emotion, other than its few kind of shock moments, but largely spread across a narrative that is half in somebody's head because they wanted to make a musical, and the other half not really knowing how to commit to either type of story they want to do, which is the courtroom drama or the love story, pseudo love story.
I think you hit the nail on the head as to why I kind of didn't jive with the first one. Is by the time I left, I'm like, yes, that is a technically sound, well made, probably in its own way, some way referential to previous movies, like film. I didn't feel anything really for Arthur. I'm like, yeah, objectively, it's sad that happens, but I guess, and especially in just like the news cycle that we live in constantly, where it's always about like, oh, here goes this person that snapped again. It's like, yeah, you see one bad day on the news every other week. So it's just like to see a movie about a guy where the whole thing is just like, here's the buildup and here's the tragedy about this very unfortunate circumstance, victim of abuse, who's like mentally ill and snaps. I'm like, that's it.
Because the first Joker, the thing is, it feels like, because Gotham's so awful and horrible, and it's the question of like, is this actually how Gotham is, or is this just how this guy perceives it to be? And if this movie is how this guy perceives it to be, then this movie is essentially the putting ourselves in the perspective of somebody who is essentially a school shooter.
Yeah.
Or like a mass shooter. And if you were to watch a mass shooter story from their perspective, you're seeing all of the wrongdoing and perceived wrongs that leads them to their cracking point.
Exactly.
Which is why like people of like certain internet communities connected to it. And I feel like Todd Phillips was like, that's not what I wanted people, because like, a lot of people are saying we live in a society after the first Joker.
Right.
So now he wanted to dismantle.
The point of parody, damn it.
And it took him 5 years. He wanted to dismantle what he perceived he was responsible to bring into the world.
Yeah, and it's and I can.
That's how it came across.
No, I agree with you on that. I think that was his ultimate intention, where it's just like, I was like, no, you idiots. Arthur is a victim. Arthur has gone through some awful, awful, horrendous shit. Even in this movie, like,
it's not a story of triumph; it's a cautionary tale.
Yeah, it's a cautionary tale, but it's also at the end of the day saying Arthur's a loser.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's deemed him that way.
Yeah, it's like society abandoned him, neglected him. Society failed Arthur Fleck. Yes, Arthur still has to take accountability for his own actions.
Of course.
So it's like, yeah,
which he technically does at the end of the movie. Yeah. So he has an arc.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I didn't say he doesn't have an arc.
But both his fan base and the audience who resonated with the first movie are like, "Oh, fuck that!"
Yeah,
because
they
he's not this version of a villain that we thought he was going to be.
And I'm like, yeah, good, fuck him, he's dead. Good, like, you piece of shit, deserve to die. Did some horrible shit.
And then somebody who was like, "Oh, you failed what I perceived it to be.
Yeah.
I am now going to take up." That's what the movie was implying.
I agree with you. It's like, you didn't live up to my expectations of you, therefore I will do it for you.
Exactly.
Which I'm okay with that. Yeah, it's like I said, it's like I'm fine with the ending. Just, it's. I don't think it had to be, like, from Todd Phillips. I feel like it didn't have to be that big of a middle finger. But I guess, some of these motherfuckers are I'm not gonna act like I'm the king of pretentious mountain, or that I'm, like, above critique or reproach or anything like that. So it's like, I'm not even gonna say that, maybe it did need to be this obvious. Maybe it did need to be this much at the forefront. Maybe it did need to be like, if you look up to this guy, you're just as much of a loser as him, which I would agree with. Like, if you're looking up to the Joker as like so I'll say this. One of the best written versions of the Joker that I've seen in recent memory is honestly the Joker from the Harley Quinn show, where he's like, what would be really insane that would throw society in a tizzy if I became mayor, became radically socialist, and started fixing the city. No one would see that coming. And I'm like, yeah, all right, show. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
I've seen narratives about school shooters, and it's like, oh, this is, we've all seen the old, the bits from like One Bad Day from fucking Killing Joke. Mm-hmm. We've all seen the cautionary tale about, like, watch, don't piss off the nice guy.
Yeah, that's like
and all that.
The antithesis to, like, an Arthur Fleck, right? Because that's like, okay, we both take the nucleus of, we don't like the way the system is going. One of them's going to develop power through the system to enact change. One of them is going to denounce the system to raise up anarchy.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, and I'm one of the reasons I don't like the Joker is anarchy for anarchy's sake just doesn't seem interesting enough for me as a motivation for a character.
Yeah, because there's, like, a sense of hollowness to it.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm just like, that's not like that. That's why I've enjoyed Harley Quinn more, as she's slowly become her own character in various mediums. Like, the best Harley Quinn, honestly, was from that recent Batman show that came out recently. That's my current favorite version of Harley. She has nothing to do with the Joker. She's a psychiatrist who's taking shitty people off the streets and using a very dark form of, like, psychological manipulation to not only have them work through their bullshit of, like, manipulative and abusive behaviors to other people, but also to, like, be her pawns. And she's using them as test experiments. I'm like, that's interesting. You have a motivation where, like, these are bad people. I'm helping the community by taking them off the streets, and I'm helping them sort through their shit. What did I do that was so wrong? And it's like, yeah, but you're also, like, kidnapping people and, like, abusing them and, like, locking them in boxes and just, like, causing psychological harm to other people despite taking a Hippocratic oath. So you're a hypocrite and a criminal. And it's like, yeah. But that's interesting, because it's like, okay, I can see a motivation there versus just like, haha, let's burn the city down.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but now you've got me piqued my interest.
Oh, it's great. It's a great show. Batman Cape Crusader is great. And even what they do with Harley is pretty interesting. Like, Hamish Linklater does a good job. You definitely gotta check it out. But yeah, I think Joker's always been saved in writing, but it's like these Joker movies, Arthur Fleck just has never been a particularly interesting character, because I've seen the Elliot Rodgers of the world, who have their, like, manifestos. I've seen, like, the incel threads and, like, the current meaning of incel, not the initial one. But it's like, it's like we've seen those guys. I see that all the time. It's like, I'd be more interested. Like, if Joker was like like an Asian woman who had, like, a tiger mom and a neglectful dad, and was just like, you know what, they're trying to make me a part of this system that doesn't resonate with me, and I want to be an artist, and they're trying to put me in this box, and now I'm gonna, like, buck back against, like, the system in that way. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting motivation. I haven't seen shit like that before. Like, and or like, you could even do that with, like, an Asian man being the Joker. You could do that, like a Joker in, like, older communist China. That could be cool. But y'all aren't going anywhere that I don't think hasn't been touched. So it's like, that's why he's just forever boring, because all you end up with is just another school shooter. You're not going far enough with what you could really do. It's like, you got a crazy nigga who runs around blowing shit up for the chuckles. You could flesh that out and make that work. Yeah. And it doesn't even always have to be a big message. But I'm just like...
Well, sometimes a person even works like kind of like in The Dark Knight. Even if you don't know their motivation, they're just smart and they do fucked up things because they think it's funny. I think that's scarier.
Yeah, he doesn't have major motivations, but it's again, he's saved by the writing. Heath Ledger's Joker is very well written.
No.
Yeah, so it's just like, I don't have as much of a problem with him being an agent of chaos. One, because he only shows up in one movie. I don't have to sit through this shit twice. But two, it's like, I'm like, okay, the performance sells it really good, and the writing is just enough because he's a specific foil for that Batman. Arthur Fleck doesn't have a foil to kind of bounce off of. He has fans, and he has detractors of the greater society that abandoned him in the first place. But there's no thing for him to bounce off of, so he essentially bounces off a wall, and it loses momentum.
I think Gotham's what he bounces off of. I think both of the movies are about this man's relationship to Gotham, how Gotham's hurt him, and how he's hurt Gotham in return.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, the hurt he tries to cause back to Gotham is going to be minimal. I don't think. I mean,
he did start a movement, and people did blow up a fucking courthouse, so it wasn't that minimal.
It wasn't that minimal.
But that's the thing. We didn't see enough of those effects for it to affect the narrative. Which goes back to my point of
we
it
mostly
had
saw
interesting things. It mostly had interesting things. It just didn't give those interesting things time to really flesh out.
Yeah, because we mostly saw that community perspective through like what was shown and told through Harlem, which isn't bad, mind you. I'm giving that credit where credit is due. This is kind of like, it's only one. If we saw like those guys that blew up the courthouse a little bit more, or how the community respond to it, if we saw a little bit more of that fire and fervor that was going on in Gotham, where it's like, oh, we're seeing him on the news. There goes our boy. Or it's like, oh, we're gonna plan this shit. It's like, and I think part of the dissatisfaction with the fan base is they wanted that agent of chaos. They didn't want to see him get fucking shanked in a prison and die on the floor. And I'm like, no.
There is almost this element of like, well, I think the first movie is very cruel. It's a very cruel movie, and like you make this is a cruel movie too. They're both cruel movies. No, I think they're both cruel movies, and like you take this guy who who has clearly mental illnesses, but drop a comically irredeemable society around that guy, which allows you to empathize for this guy, but also be scared of him, and then him take actions. But they want, I don't know. It's like both a cautionary tale, but they're also like, you don't agree with what he's doing, but you understand why he's doing what he's doing. It's like, oh fuck it, I shouldn't have gotten this way. And then the second movie is about how he's fucked with the city and the effect he's had in the city, both him inspiring the people that are disenfranchised, but also the pain that he's caused. Yeah. And then the end, he doesn't even get to be a martyr because he denounces his title. Yep. And then dismantles his own legacy and then gets shanked unceremoniously. Yeah. Which I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with the ending of it all. Yeah. And we're gonna get to that fucking puddle scene. I swear to God we are. But I think the other last bit that very much just kind of like unsettled me. And again, not in like a ooh, my spirit is discomforted. I'm just like, that was too much and we didn't need it. Was the scene through part of the courthouse. It was that kind of straw that broke the camel's back moment where he got assaulted and then his buddy got killed. The buddy getting killed, okay, that's not everybody picked up on the assault thing. Like, I was like, did they do that? But I feel like a lot more people have kind of assigned it. I definitely picked up on it. And I'm just like, I know they didn't show it, but even just like with how far they went with the implication, and I'm just like, I get it. You want to break Arthur's spirit. You think his underwear would be bloody if they actually like sodomized him. That was kind of the vibe I thought. It looked dirty at least. I remember them dragging him in the underwear, but I feel like if it was like blood in the underwear, like it was clear, I feel like it would have made it more clear. It would have made it more obvious. I don't know. But it's implied. It's definitely implied. Yeah. I can say that.
Yeah, and just like, and then like whatever they had done to like assault Arthur, and I'm just like, I understand that you want to like break his spirit and break his will down to like something just subhuman. I'm like, it seems
because if I remember correctly, it's like it's the scene with Zazie Beetz, and she's like, his mother was like, this motherfucker ain't shit, and then he's like, you know what, fuck her. Fuck this trial. I'm gonna listen to my fans. I'm gonna be the Joker. And then he has the Gary Puddle scene, which is a phenomenal scene where he actually has to sit with a mirror face against him of the effects of what he's done.
Yeah, that
and then him
fantastic.
trying to, and I want to say in that same scene, he's trying to save face by like, no, like this is why the people love me. Fuck this. Fuck that.
Yeah,
and then
you're right.
And then the next,
because it was after he said "fuck the guards."
He said "fuck the guards" after the Gary Puddle scene, but I think in the same scene.
Yes, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, so he was like, I'm going to be this guy. Oh, Gary Puddle's making me challenge it. No, I can't listen to that side of myself. Right. This is what the people want. I have to be the Joker that people think that I am because I have a desire to
put on me.
I have expectations put on me, and for the first time in my life, people are seen. Not only am I seen, I am loved by the people that, by this legacy that I feel like people expect of me. And then he does that thing, but this time he's doing it not because he's brought to that frustration point, but because he wants to be loved, and then he sees the ramifications of the cost of what the title that people want to put upon him, and he's like, nah, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
And then he does.
Yeah. It was intended to break his spirit, and I'm like, I feel like killing the other guy could have honestly been enough.
What do you mean?
Cause
the friend?
Yeah. Whoever it was, supporter or whatever. It's like, because you could have written that in a way that made it work. It's, okay, so there are conversations where it's like, how necessary is it to depict the assault scene in your movie? Depending on the nature of the
didn't go all the way, but it was a little much. I think that one scene was reminiscent of the overtly comically mean spirit of the first one. I feel like that's one of the few instances that it did go into that territory.
I think that's a good way to define it. Is it was like comically mean spirited.
Yeah.
And it was just like a scene. It's like, yeah, that is shit that really happens to people. And it does like have those horrible psychological and physical like effects. And I hate that that's the circumstances of just like the prison industrial complex and shit.
Yeah.
I don't think if its effect was to draw an emotion out of me in regards to Arthur's like spirit being knocked down almost to like the points below zero, it didn't. It took me out again, where I'm just like, that is like, we didn't need all that to get what you want to get across with your narrative. Because it's like, it's just like the whole thing with Arthur's journey is him constantly being kicked while he's down.
Can I ask you something? Do you feel like it's harder for you to like connect or resonate with like what was me type of stories?
It like stories where you pity the character?
Yeah.
Honestly, not much.
Okay.
I can definitely feel pity or empathy for like a character or a villain or something like that, depending on the circumstances. So it's like I'm trying to think.
Because I feel like the Joker movies are very much like woe is me, to like the circumstances are so bad. These are the only way.
Now, granted, in my personal life, I'm not huge on like self-deprecating humor. That does irritate me personally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does kind of grate because like a lot of our fellow millennials kind of use it as a coping mechanism for their issues without actually dealing with their issues. So that kind of gets under my skin.
Very true.
Nothing we or our friends in particular do, but I've been around it enough, and in my field of my personal job, it's just like, come on, laugh with me about this like self-deprecating. It's like, it's not fucking funny.
All right, like one of these
it's
like,
kind of sad to hear.
Making jokes about like wanting to off yourself like all the time. Like,
yeah, it's like how like I love Kevin Smith, and I love listening to him speak. But when he like keeps going on about, oh yeah, it's me. I don't know why my wife loves me and my little dick. I'm like, Kevin, bro, let's just
Just get some confidence.
Come on, man. Like, damn. Like, it's that is definitely a personal affect. And that could be an influence.
Do you feel like that's trying to be like trying to be humble in those moments? Like, oh, he's relatable because like he's like this famous
He's
guy.
just like me. He's just like, oh, yeah. I think it is an attempt for people to be like relatable or keep themselves humble. I'm like, being confident doesn't make you an asshole. You're an asshole if you're an asshole.
Yeah. If you're cocky and you have
a
sense of grandiose.
If you have a superiority complex, yeah, you're probably a dick.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like just because you're just like, you know, if you're in a race and you're like, hey, I won first place. I'm the fastest racer here. That doesn't make you confident. That's a fucking fact.
Yeah.
Or that doesn't make you cocky. It's like if you're like, hey, I ran really fast. I got first place. I'm number one. I'm the fastest here. Yeah. If Simone Biles is like, hey, I'm, you know, one of the most decorated athletes in the world. You know, it's like I'm a gold medalist. I'm, you know, in the history of gymnastics, I've changed the game. Yeah. It's a fact.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be confident in that fact. Or like, especially if there's evidence behind it, you can bring that up. It doesn't make you not humble. You know, it doesn't make you cocky just because you're like, yeah, I'm great at doing this thing.
I'm trying to think of like other Misery movies about like a character's just like down in his luck. Cause
yeah, I'm trying to think of examples that come to mind to kind of speak to your point. I do, in my personal life, I'm not really huge on self-deprecating humor like that anymore, just because I think it was way too overblown by millennials to the point where if I hear
I don't think Joker's self-deprecating though.
Oh no, not him. Just kind of like following up your previous question, but no, Joker doesn't give me self-deprecating vibes because like he tried his hand at jokes, and I think I don't think the movies are self-deprecating, but I do think there could be a point where it's like, it's like we punch the guy. Then we kick the guy, and then someone comes in while their clothes are fucked up, and they just spit on him. Like, the spit wasn't necessary. And I think for the assault scene to happen, it felt like the spit after 2 movies of reinforcing we kick the guy, and we spit on the guy, and we shove the guy, we yell at the guy, we don't treat... Like, he doesn't get treated with, like, pretty much any dignity. Like, remember the scene early in the movie where... the cop gives him the cigarette and he's like, thanks, pal, and he fucking shoves him into the wall. I'm like, wow. Like, in that moment, I was like, fuck, man. Okay, I get it. There's a power gap there. Y'all are not friends. Could have said that. Now, again, that speaks to how shitty the cops and enforcers are at Arkham.
I think that was more of like a... I think that's what the intention was.
That was what the intention
wasn't an unnecessary roughness, yes.
And it's like, yeah, they're cops and COs and shit like that are really like that.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like it was a quick moment to display the fact that he's doing something for him, but they're not buddies, and that's what the intention was. I think that was the most concise way of conveying that, both to the audience and to the character.
I guess just like in this particular instance, for this movie, I think a lot of the thing, because the movie's already like, he's a loser with all these fucking problems. It's like there are continuous moments that don't feel like the punch or the kick. They just feel like the spit. And I'm like, how much of the spit do we need if I already have the context of how much he's been punched and kicked and he's in jail? Like,
have you ever seen a movie called Inside Llewyn Davis?
I've heard of it. It sounds very... Is that Oscar Isaac?
It's Oscar Isaac.
I've been meaning to watch it.
He plays a folk singer. I'd be curious to hear your opinion on that, man.
I do want to check that out. I need to watch it at some point.
Yeah, he plays a folk singer in the 60s. Okay. And it's about his journey about trying to get trying to get a record deal. Okay. And yeah, after this talk, I'd be curious to hear your opinion about that movie. Because I was trying to think of other examples of like characters that are like on hard times, down on their luck. Yeah. And yeah, that's the first one that comes to mind. I personally love that film because of the way it's executed.
I mean, I've heard great things about it.
Yeah. I'd be curious. That'd be a fun conversation. Yeah. It's like the chips is coming to an end pretty soon here because I'm like, we started one movie. There's another movie I wanted to show you. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to get through both, if either of them. Yeah.
We'll see, though. All right, let's talk about the Mr. Puddle scene because that scene was fucking fantastic. That's some Oscar-worthy shit. That is one where I'll kind of like excuse the length of the tension of the walk. Shout outs to fucking Gary Puddles, bro.
Gary Puddles?
I think that was Arthur's funniest performance.
For sure.
That was also probably part of his like most authentic Mr. Puddles, is that your real name? Gary Puddles. And it's like, Gary Puddles, that's your government God-given name. Like the fucking Foghorn Leghorn was actually giving me some solid chuckles. But Gary just returning fucking powerhouse. I wish I had the actor's name in front of me. I might have to find it. But like, just the intensity of the emotion where just throughout the movie I'm just kind of like eye rolling, like, okay, all right, let's see what they're gonna do. You know, I was going into it open minded. You know, I was trying to push my bias aside. But getting to the Gary Puddle scene, I felt it, and it burned in my chest. Especially getting to the end of like his speech of him. He's like, I'm so scared every single day. I can't. Yeah, it's like I can't eat. I can't work. It's like my life has just been forever changed by what you did to me, Arthur. And I hate that for me because you were the one person who didn't make fun of me. And that hit my soul.
Yeah.
Homie was cooking with grease. I wanted to go through the screen and hug him. I'm like, Gary, it's going to be all right, man. We're going to get through this because I'm feeling it now.
Yeah, because that was the only part of the movie that wasn't like based in delusion or hyperbole or exaggeration. That was like a very honest, genuine kind of exposure and confrontal of confrontation of someone's trauma, someone's experience, you know. And the rest of the movie is kind of shrouded by the whimsical and abstract nature of Arthur's perspective and like his relationship with his own sense of legacy and like how he's perceived gives him a sense of worth, but they keep him isolated. So he doesn't really see the effects of what people perceive him to be. Like, yeah, he watched himself on TV, asked about his TV movie because he wants to feel seen. He wants to feel important. He wants to be loved, both by people and by a significant other. But the only way he feels like he's able to achieve love is through that mask. And again, I feel like those things, like on paper, could work great. I feel like there's a better version of this movie somewhere in it. It's just crowded by all this other shit that kind of takes. I feel like I can't say it works as a mainstream comic book movie, but it's like an indie film. If you take the story of Arthur Fleck from the first one and remove the Joker from it, and then make this part 2 and take the musical sequence out of it, I think it works as a sequel. But because it's so crowded and doesn't give anything room to really breathe or flesh out, it kind of fails on all fronts.
Yeah, the actor's name is Lee Gill, by the way, so shout outs to him because he acted the shit out of this. I would not be mad at him getting like a supporting role nom for that because he came in, did what he needed to do for his like 10-15 minutes and it was let out scot-free. But yeah, it's just I think there's an independent version of this movie that's like even down to just like all the aspects of it being like a jukebox musical that explores the relationship between a man that's been impacted by the world and the world trying to move forward with like his impact and what it leaves and how those two things kind of like interweave with one another as you go through like a court case. There's an independent film that has all those elements and is fucking great. It's not here.
Yeah.
I don't know what Todd Phillips is gonna do next. I'm completely fine with the fucking magic balloons. I'm fine with this being the end of it. First of all, because
it's gonna be the end of it.
Yeah, good because I don't want that Harley Quinn spinoff. I'm not saying it's gonna happen.
That was never a real thing.
No, I know it wasn't, but I also am not trying to. I'm trying to stop the universe from doing that. There's only 2 Joker movies.
No, it's not gonna happen.
There's only 2 Joker movies. We're not getting a Harley Quinn movie.
Fuck no.
Not that Lady Gaga was a bad Harley Quinn. It's fine. But I'm putting it out in the universe. We're not getting that. I don't need more in comic book mediums. I think with Batman stuff in particular, and like we're keeping up with Penguin right now. Fantastic show.
Great show.
DC's stuff though is just too. It doesn't all have to. Gotham doesn't always have to be bleak. Gotham is also fucking weird.
Very.
I think weird Gotham,
Very weird.
like retroactively, I'm giving some comments to Gotham, the TV show. weird Gotham, I think, is more interesting than bleak Gotham. Like in Cyberpunk 2077, the whole thing with the city of Night City is kind of one of those cases like you either it's about, do you burn out or do you fade away? You know, do you like die at the peak of like trying to be somebody, or do you like die alone in the gutter by yourself? It's like, it's very bleak. You know, it's like the city eats you. It is a character in and of itself. I feel like Gotham having a bunch of weird shit in it that makes it a difficult place to live is infinitely more interesting than like, yeah, difficult infrastructure, you know, society's corrupt and fucked up and all the cops are on the payroll of the mafia. It's like, that's not interesting. That's just living in New York. Like, that's just living under Mayor Eric Adams. I don't like, you know, it's like, okay, that's Cop City in Atlanta. That's just real life. It's like, well, yeah, you know, the art imitates reality. Bitch, I can watch the news. I want to see this motherfucker fight giant bats.
You know, some more escapist.
Not only escapist, I want something more creative with how you go about the escapism. I'm not saying that you can't have a bleak Gotham and a weird Gotham, but someone should try to.
Yeah.
Because, like...
We're hey, James Gold, Brave and the Bold, we may
yeah, I'm hoping so. Because, like, Bruce Timm did it.
Yeah.
Was Gotham bleak? Yeah. It was also fucking weird.
Yeah.
There was a giant crocodile man. Remember Baby Doll?
We got to get away from grounded, realistic Gotham.
Yeah. I don't think it has to be grounded and realistic to be taken seriously.
No.
And to still have that air of, like, grimness.
Totally.
It can still be a ruthless, you know, corrupt city while also having, like, weird... Like, that's why I'm like, I would want to see Poison Ivy in the Batman 2, because you could easily do a botanist who's a domestic eco-terrorist.
You know what's funny? We've never actually done, like, a scary Batman movie.
And we should.
Which is interesting to me, because he's, like... His whole thing is using fear. But, I mean, granted, I guess you can kind of say there's elements of horror...
I mean, in, like, some of the animated
Batman Begins,
movies.
maybe a little bit.
There's
like,
some in some of the animated movies, but none of the live action, really.
Not really. We gotta commit to it. Let's actually do an Arkham Asylum Batman movie.
Yeah, have him be trapped in there and be like, you know, not saying that he's
Die
scared.
Hard with Batman? Come on. Let's say it writes itself.
Yeah, like Die Hard with Batman would be fun. Batman fighting an eco-terrorist, I think, is a very interesting one, because it's like, whose side do you take in that situation? It's like, do you take the extreme? Because I think that's what worked with, like, the Batman is, you know, granted, it was just like a 4chan memer that was like trying to bomb out the elites and failed and wound up wiping out 30% of the living poor population. Put all those bombs on the bridges. Like, yeah, this will show the elite. They live in the high part on the rich part of town. You just drowned like 3,000 people.
Oof.
Yeah, it's like you failed on multiple fronts, which is like, I think that's what's interesting about it. It's like, you think you're this voice of the people, yet you killed the people.
You did kill the people.
But anyways, any other thoughts on Joker before I move on to
No.
to exhale?
No. If you have any other thoughts, I'm gonna go to the bathroom for a quick second.
Okay.
Shout out, King.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some of my water.
Okay.
I'm gonna yap till he gets back. So we saw Venom 3, and it was existing. It was very much there. It certainly did happen. It started, it middled, and it ended. You know, full spoilers for Venom 3 as we get into this conversation. God, where to start and where to begin? I mean, just like all the stuff with Null. We all knew he was only going to be there for 5 minutes, but I thought we would have maybe more engaging villains than just the xenophages. And for a movie that's supposed to be the end of a trilogy, there's a significant lack of the lead character himself, Venom, in the movie Venom. It's supposed to be about freaking Venom. They used their budget. Excuse me. They used their budget well enough, I guess. If that's how you want to see it, and that's what you want to say about it. It looked like they were trying. All the actors tried. It was also weird when you remember that the fuck, it just slipped my mind. My mind just fucking wiped out. God, I'm tired. Remembering that this is like a follow up to No Way Home, they retconned the ending of No Way Home technically to how he disappears from the MCU and comes back to the main universe, which leads to a total nothing post credit scene. That also still may have or may not have a payoff. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know what I don't know what their plan was. I don't know what their plan is. Tom Hardy is continuing to be. I mean, he was just aggressively fine. That family didn't add shit to the movie, but padded it out. It just got on my nerves. It was fun seeing Mrs. Chan and seeing Mrs. Chan, dance with Venom. I thought that was cute. Now, granted, it was stupid for him to fully transform just to do the dance sequence because of exactly what they thought would happen happened. But I'm like, just because you point out that it's dumb doesn't make this good writing. It's still dumb. It'll still leave me with questions like, I know in the comics at time Venom, or at least the symbiote, can turn into clothes. There kept being a running gag about him losing shoes. I think it would have been more interesting for him to just have Venom boots. Have him, you didn't even need the whole sequence of it. You could have saved yourself 5 minutes of him not being let in with his like gross clothes, and then just walking out around the corner and coming back with a suit instead of like punching out the guy that pissed on him. But I guess that was to get a laugh when you really could have just been like, oh, Venom can turn into clothes. I should have always been able to do that. But it's like, oh, here's him actually using his powers. It's like he's had this for a year. It's like they've combined the introduction of the Codex. I mean, it's certainly there. I mean, Noel was a whole lot of nothing. It's like, oh, this is what could happen if Noel gets released. I'm like, so? What do you want me to take for it? It's like, oh, well, but we know that he's going to stop him. It'd be interesting if, like, Venom died, and then it's like, well, Noel's coming. And it's like, okay. Well, I mean, that is sort of what they said. It's like, oh, Noel's coming. I'm like, coming to who? Coming to what? Coming to where? Venom's gone. I mean, I guess we have the new speedster symbiote who can maybe take him on, and I guess there's still maybe that bit left of the goo that was captured by Chiwetel Ejiofor, earlier that they didn't do anything with. I'm even looking at this poster. It's so fucking goofy. Witness the epic conclusion. It looks so silly and bland and boring. Like, I don't know. It's like, what? I don't know what they were trying to do here. I don't know what the end goal was. Not everything needs to be a trilogy. It's like, stop with the trilogies. Just let some things be one-offs or two-offs. It didn't need to be what it turned out to be. Production was halted during the SAG-AFTRA strike. That definitely tracks. Like, I don't know what they wanted to come out of this. Chiwetel Ejiofor's character Rex, I mean, just generic general or commander or whatever the fuck. I'm looking at these names and I'm just like, who are these people? Who the fuck are these people? The fact these are comic book characters that actually exist in there is good. Like, the hell is this? Are you shitting me? Wait, this is actually a character. Rex Strickland. Blah, blah, blah. I don't see anything. Okay, never mind. I don't remember much of these characters from the comics, and I read a good chunk of King in Black. Juno Temple was there. Reese Ifans was wasted as Martin. Nobody gives a shit. Patrick Mulligan was wasted as Toxin. They wrote the original symbiote that he was bonded to out of the script. They're like, oh, the symbiote left him. He's in critical condition. How does the CG leave? I didn't know that was an option that was had. And it's like, oh, well, we gave him a new one. It saved his life. And he turned into Toxin and then died immediately. Or not immediately, but he just died trying to fight one of them fucking funky phages. It's like, well, that was a waste of Stephen Graham's time. Good for you. But just a whole lot of nothing. Good to see. Okay. Wow. Oh, he's gonna laugh at. You're gonna laugh at this. I just found something.
What?
So, you know how all throughout. I'm talking about Venom now. I was getting the combo started. So I didn't realize when he kept calling her Christmas.
Yeah.
Her last name is Christmas.
Oh my god.
I thought it was like.
Is this real?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I'm like, I thought
Sadie Christmas. Her name is Sadie fucking Christmas.
Yo,
that is wild.
One of the best characters in the movie, whose name we didn't even know throughout the entire runtime.
Is she a comic character?
No. But
is her name actually Christmas? Because I thought it was just because she wore the pin. She was so fine, and we knew nothing about her. And it was kind of a tragedy.
She was fine and had the Lasher symbiote. And she was, and the whole time I'm like, what is it with this motherfucker's deal with hating Christmas and like Rex Strickland's issues with Christmas? Her name is Christmas, which makes it feel even dumber than if her name was like Jackson or something. And he just had, I think it would have been more interesting for him to just have beef with like the holiday, like how Chucky hates Santa Claus.
But none of the characters were interesting. That's the thing. None of them were interesting.
Were they characters?
Were they characters? I guess Martin and his family were kind of characters. Technically. They just wanted to see Area 51 real bad.
Not even all of them, just Martin and his wife. The kids didn't want to be there.
The kids did not want to be there, but they left the dog behind with the car running so they can go and explore Area 51 and they find themselves in an alien battle.
Mm-hmm.
The Venom trilogy is so weird because it's the one that nobody asked for, but because people kept paying money to go see it because they just have we have this like take what I can get kind of mentality, and like they're like, okay, like it feels like 90s schlock, so yeah, it was fun, and no blame. I don't hold it against you if you like the Venom movies. I didn't really care for Venom 1, Venom 2. Venom 2, I was like, they've doubled down on the Eddie and Venom thing. I can understand why people would find appeal in this. I'm like, okay, they're like, no, that was the movie where I was like, okay, this is not my Eddie Brock, this is not my Venom, but this is a distinct take on this character. Mm-hmm. So different from anything we've seen before, it stands on its own as something that is unique, that will be amongst the pantheon of Venom and Eddie's, or Venom interpretations, right?
Right.
So, but the movie, the third one, feels so, like, last minute. Yeah, it feels like it exists.
Yeah,
it feels last minute.
It feels rushed.
It feels
for something
rushed.
that
because they wanted
didn't
to
need
introduce,
to rush.
Yeah, they wanted to introduce Noel, and they did it in the most lazy way possible.
Yeah,
and then
he exposition
it didn't make sense. He exposition dumped at the top of the movie just so we're caught up to speed about who he is and what he wants and what needs to happen for the plot of this movie. And this movie fast tracks the reason why Eddie doesn't even want to deal with the ramifications of, okay, they got transported to this other universe for some reason, or not directly engaged with the plot of No Way Home. And then they're like, okay, never mind, we're just going to retcon that. So then what was the point to begin with? You did not have an idea in mind. You're just a studio that wants to make things happen. And it should always be storytelling first, but it doesn't sound like that's a priority. It seems like we're going to capitalize on this RP and then make a semblance of a story that has action and comedy, and then cobble together a story and call it a movie. And it didn't even utilize the concepts it was trying to do till its fullest, because it wanted to introduce late in the game the concept of a codex and like, oh, like we are one, but then our oneness is now threatened because this guy who for some reason is now picking the time that he wants to
which is
win back
interesting.
his freedom.
You tell me, in like millions of years of symbiotes like existing, not only keeping Noel locked away on this prison planet, but in that time there has never been
another codex.
There's never been another codex. And
it's crazy because a codex wasn't created in this movie. Like, a guy gets stabbed with the the chest, and then another symbiote jumps on that guy. Like, wouldn't he then technically be a fucking...
No, because he hadn't died yet. Eddie had fully died, and Venom brought him back.
Fair. Okay.
Like, we saw him fully die. Like, it's...
Okay, you were semantics. You're right.
Like, the creation of the Codex, yes, is somewhat of a retcon. But it does have a couple legs to stand on. Because that guy was like, he was on his way out the door.
Right.
With the suit. Got him right before.
Clapped him right before.
He was like, not yet. We don't need two of these shits.
Exactly. Okay.
The plot stopped it from happening.
The plot.
Just,
and it's interesting because we get Venom 1, and I think he was fighting Riot in that movie. Yeah. But all those symbiotes looked lame and bland, and it was hard to tell which ones were which. But these symbiotes were like so like vibrant and
colorful
and unique and kind of cartoony, but in the best and like awesome way.
The Six, maybe it's because they were the actual Lethal Protectors.
Oh, were they?
I think so.
Or inspired by anyway.
Or they were inspired by him because it's like.
But none of them did anything. He had one that looked like lava, and he got eaten up immediately. Didn't even get to use any powers.
Yeah, the two-headed one. I wish we saw more of. The ones someone got confirmed. Let's see. The lightning one is Agony, or supposed to be is based off Agony.
Yeah, but had none of the abilities of what Agony has. Because I feel like I learned that Agony actually has the acid power. You know the thing at the end of the movie that they sprayed hose on and killed the Chiwetel Ejiofor. Yeah,
and I'm mad about Sadie Christmas's symbiote like getting wiped out. She had Lasher. Or what was like Lasher, inspired by Lasher. Yeah, the green symbiote that primarily uses 4 tendrils, which prove him as bad.
And then the whole thing with Juno Temple's a good actress, right? But all of this build up with like her and the lightning and the brother, and then like her saving the day. Like, I was like, why?
We could have you could have removed the entire brother sequence, and it would not have changed anything.
Nothing felt consequential. And then the movie has the audacity to want to get you emotional at the end by asking us to last ride. And then has even bigger audacity
from 20 minutes before in the movie.
Like, to try to do a montage of all this history we've done. Like, we literally just saw this happen.
With, like, none of his background. Like, I don't think we saw... Oh, we did see Mrs. Chen because we saw the dancing scene.
Yeah, which was dumb because the whole thing was like, you literally jumped off of a plane to get to New York because this motherfucker was after you. But you can dance with Mrs. Chen and it's not a problem. And you acknowledge it.
Well, Venom wanted to do it.
He wanted to do it, but...
So he did it. And they said... But Eddie said, hey, we shouldn't do that. They're after us. It sounds like, but I want to dance. Don't you want to... When's the last time you danced? It'll be all right.
You're a dumb child. Whoever wrote that should be fired.
No, the one that gets me is, the people on that plane definitely died.
100%. Lethal Protector my ass.
Yeah, it's like...
You're like, me, bitch.
It's lethal, all right.
Right. Lethal if someone's not running after me, then I'm scared. Bye.
Like, they were on the side of that plane, and I'm pretty sure that window busted open, and when they threw that xenophage through the propeller, I'm like... Don't get me wrong, propellers can take a lot, but you shouldn't be trying to put stuff in them.
No.
And that thing was functionally immortal till we got to the acid. So, those people are gone.
Also,
that plane is...
If Venom can just absorb these motherfuckers into his own body, why were we ever scared to begin with?
Just eat them.
Just eat them. Or absorb them. He became like a mega super symbiote.
Yeah, he pulled a web of shadows and
exactly.
became like this cacophony of goo. And just like, take us to the acid and burn us down. Like, it's like, all right, I guess.
I suppose.
Like, they never even made it to New York, which I'm like, all right, so they put Ed in New York to do nothing.
Right, because it was at least cool to see Venom swinging through the city as Venom with his tendrils.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. I was waiting for him to maybe get, like, the chest spider or something.
Never.
But they killed him off. I'm like...
But they teased, like, this isn't the end, Eddie. So they'll see each other again in some form or fashion. Maybe they'll come back in Secret Wars. Maybe
they'll come back in Spider-Man, King in Black. God, I hope that's not real. God in heaven, I do not want Spider-Man fight. Like, here's the thing.
That's also the biggest offense of this movie. It's a setup movie. It's not even... It's the finale to the Venom trilogy, and it's a setup movie. Like, you get to fight not even the main guy. You get to fight the henchmen to prevent the main guy from coming.
Yeah, like, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, it's not a lot of Venom in the movie.
No.
When he shows up, it's actually pretty fun. I like when Venom shows up. Surprisingly. This is probably the most fun I've had with him showing up. And like Tom Hardy's physical acting in the movie is good.
Yeah.
Like I give him credit where credit's due because you're acting against yourself.
Yeah.
You know, nothing basically, but it's just a bunch of shit ain't going on. It's like, oh, this guy Eddie Brock is like has to be a fugitive for these murders. It's like, did he touch them hoes? Like, it's like, okay, whatever. Just exposit it. Give us a reason for him to be on the run in Mexico, and then they find him. Yeah, the Moon family did a whole lot of nothing. Patrick Mulligan did a whole lot of nothing.
Truly, he floated.
What was
he
that
made
one
some weird ass faces.
He had overacted like one line for some reason.
Terrible.
I forget what it was, and we were looking at each other like, what the fuck was that about?
The night is coming, or some shit.
That's what it was. That's what it was. He's like, he is coming. It's like, bro, roll it back.
You don't know the take of that?
Yeah, I'm like...
The voice is doing most of the work for you. You don't need to do all of that.
Yeah, the director was just like, great, cool, next one. Oh, no, that was just me trying it out. No, it was great. We'll use that. Oh, we don't have to. No, it's good. Let's just keep going.
No, we're behind schedule. We got to keep moving.
I mean, Mrs.
Did you hear what the rumored plot was before the movie came out?
What was the plot?
It was that Spider-Man... No, Venom learned that Peter Parker is the death of him. So they had to go find their universe's Peter Parker, but that Peter Parker was a 5-year-old, and they had to kill Peter Parker as a 5-year-old in New York.
I want to hit something with my shoes.
I was like, oh God. I mean, I don't know what's worse. That we had to go kill little Peter Parker plot, or
Eddie, we have to kill this child.
And it's weird
that they kill that little boy, Eddie.
You know, it was weird the fact that we're gonna go blackmail this judge, and I feel like Eddie's been like a good guy. That's the most Eddie Brock thing he's ever done in this entire trilogy.
It's like, all right, we need to go blackmail this judge, and it's like, yes, Eddie, take us to New York.
But it's like,
let's go fight the justice system.
And like, if you had this dirt, you could have done this a year ago because you've been out here.
You're an investigative journalist.
Exactly.
Shouldn't you have had this shit for a minute?
No, he expelled you from New York. He's been like, bitch, Uno reverse. Like, I'm not going anywhere.
Like, you're gonna get banned.
No sense.
It was a series of manufactured like events for sequence. Like, oh. Oh man, like the symbiotes were the coolest part.
They were.
The xenophages were creepy looking. Like they used their budget well. I mean, it's like the
VFX budget was good. They made a plot excuse for why Tom Hardy's face can be in the movie more with the codex.
I will tell you the top 4 things in this movie. It was the green symbiote doing gangsta shit. Mm-hmm. It didn't do much, but it looked cool.
It did look cool.
The pink speedster one, because that was cool. The credits with the Venom animals.
That was cool.
What was the phrase we came up with during the movie? The Venom momentum.
The Venom momentum.
The Venom momentum, and then number 4 is the dance scene with Mrs. Chang.
I like the opening scene with the dogs. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, that worked.
Until he started doing like, we are Venom. Oh, okay.
I was like watching it, and I felt just in my brain, in the editing, in Adobe, just like cut, delete, drag, like just mentally deleting parts of the dialogue just to be like, okay, cut that for pacing. It's like just going through this movie. I'm just like, it's 109 minutes.
Damn.
You could cut this down to 95, 96.
Yeah.
Like you could just like cutting off. Like that stupid ass joke, probably a couple establishing shots. Cut a good chunk of the family shit. Remember how when people thought that like that was Kirk Connors and like a young Peter Parker in danger or some shit?
As I was watching
I'm like, they're stupid, but they're not crazy.
Yeah, as we were watching it together, I was like, could we have just gone from Eddie in not the forest, where was he? Eddie in in nature or in the desert to him just in Vegas and like have a line for like how he got there. Because that cuts out a whole middle portion.
Dog, you know how he could have got there, especially given this is based off King in Black. You know where Venom gets wings. Fly.
Yeah.
You just sprout wings. Like, they had that joke for a second where it's just like, man, I wish you could fly. It's like, I mean, in the comics they can. In the PS5 game, he flew.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense why you can't, because you don't even have to be in full Venom mode to fly.
All the things that the symbiotes can make with their bodies, they can make like blades and tendrils and shit.
They literally have matter shifting. They go in and out of your body and clothes and hide inside of you.
You
can't make wings?
You can make like giant fists and gloves and boots. That was another thing that I was saying. It's like the weird running gag of, oh, I keep losing my shoes. I like those shoes. What am I gonna do? Is like make shoes from symbiote. Just make some shoes.
I've seen him done plenty of times, and he literally.
They're probably a perfect fit. They're literally made for you.
We literally saw him wear Venom's feet in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
because it became the Venom foot, and he kicked. I'm like, okay, just shrink that down into a shoe.
Yeah, just make some Venom sneakers. Matter of fact, that would have been good for marketing. Some Adidas brand Venom sneakers. I would have considered it with like the little wiggly squiggles on it.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was gonna at least get a chest symbol, like even if it was the spiral or something, which they could have done. That is technically now his primary symbol.
Like what brand they would do, because I was like,
probably Adidas or Puma.
Adidas or Puma. I'm trying to think, like, how do you combine Venom's name with a brand? Like, Nike wouldn't work. I think it was Skechers. Vetchers? No.
Adidas. All day I dream about symbiotes.
What?
Adidas, all day I dream. So like Adidas is an anagram.
Oh.
Or it can be an anagram where it's like all day I dream about S.
Okay.
So it's like you do all day I dream about symbiotes.
That could work. So I didn't know Adidas was an anagram. I didn't realize.
I think it's actually a name, but people have used it as an anagram.
Oh, acronym?
Acronym. Why was I saying anagram? Is it anagram? No, acronym.
It's acronym. Yeah.
Yeah, it is acronym. But yeah, it's like you could have easily had a crossover where it's just like, oh, I didn't know you knew how to do that. You made me some shoes. That's really cool, V. Wow, these Adidas brand shoes. Get in stores now. Adidas brand symbiote stompers or some shit.
That would have been a perfect marketing.
I would have rather got that than all the bullshit with the family singing in the car. A waste of Reese Efan's talent and those kids and Alana Eubank and all that shit. What a nothing. Only for him to come out with like Crocs and cookout shoes, like
boots.
Yeah, but it's like Venom not having wings. Probably is just like makes even less sense because it's like you can turn a horse into a Venom horse, you can turn a frog into a Venom frog, a fish into a Venom fish. Can't make wings. That's where you draw the line. Turn any woman into something that came out of my dreams and nightmares at the same time that I probably need to find therapy for. But like wings is where you're like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do.
I don't flap.
They don't flap well. I don't. The wind pressure is a little hard.
I get cold, Eddie.
Eddie, the wind chill, Eddie. It's not opportune to fly. I get cold. It's like, well, bitch, you're allergic to fire. What's the issue?
I get the willies, Eddie.
But Eddie, what if we fly into a bird? It's like, who cares?
Venom, you're overthinking it. Like,
it's like, no, don't think it. But I'm scared. I like it here on the ground.
I need the body heat, Eddie.
Eddie, I'm scared of heights. I don't want to go up there again. It's scary up there.
God. I wonder if we get Venom again, if Tom Hardy's going to come back for the voice, or it's the actor who's playing him doing their own Venom voice.
Oh, you mean like with
Tom Holland,
like with Red Skull, like they did with Red Skull, because they couldn't get back
Hugo Weaving.
Yeah, Hugo Weaving. So they had the guy that did, what was it, Ebony Maw, who's also he's also a voice actor.
Marquise.
Yeah,
Marquise.
I'm forgetting his name.
I don't know. I don't remember his name.
I'm forgetting his name. He's talented. He's a talented guy.
But no, I'm saying that because Tom Hardy does the voice for Venom, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm cool with Tom Hardy returning as Venom. Now, granted, I would want like an official MCU Eddie Brock.
That too.
But like if they want to bring Hardy back for Secret Wars, I'm not against it. I don't want a Null movie for Spider-Man.
I don't even know where they're gonna go with a fucking Null movie. Nowhere. What would they even do with that? Because Venom would be the main person in that, and then like what's Spider-Man then by himself gonna do?
It's so fucking backwards. It's like doing a Clone Saga with Venom. You know, it's like that was never his story. Like
Right.
Venom had an event, you know, that was really cool, and I'm glad that the character got to have like his like everybody now is like King in Black, and that Venom, you know, run the Donny Cates run, which I did read. It's a very good run, all things considered. It does a lot of exploration, and it really elevates Eddie as a character. He becomes a fucking celestial god. So it's like yeah, there's a lot that fucking happens in that book. So it's like, yeah, that's a pretty big story in the character's history. Don't give it to fucking Spider-Man. He has enough.
They don't care.
And I'm not saying that you can't pull inspiration from wherever the fuck you want. You know, these movies will never be direct adaptations of the comic books. That is not my grievance. My grievance is like, the nigga has, what, 2 stories that people care about? And one of them is from the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And the other one is like bits from like the Lethal Protector saga in the 90s.
Before you even get the chance to see that story.
And then it's like, well, we kill them, so give them to Spider-Man. Spider-Man has plenty of shit to do.
Yeah.
Many
unexplored stories, so many unexplored villains.
Yeah, it's like Venom is significantly younger. He's like not even half. Probably, they'll say half at best the age of Spider-Man. He has way less like prominent storylines and arcs that they were already grasping at straws from.
It's also weird like they would do Null so early because like I think that character was only invented in like 2018, the same year the first Venom movie came out.
Yeah,
it's just like a big character to do.
I mean, same thing with like the wings being in Spider-Man PS5 and like the spiral design and shit being in those games. It's like that's recent.
Yeah,
you know, it's like because like Sam Cap happened, I think 2016, and then we didn't officially get that till
2019.
Yeah, technically.
Well, 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, 2021.
With the costume.
With the costume. The manual got passed in 2019, but we officially saw the costume in 2021. 5 years, I think, is fair. But, like, King in Black is, like, I think even fresher than that.
Well, it's been about 6 years since King in Black came out. So.
Really?
Because I think.
No, it hasn't.
You can fact check on this, because I'm pretty sure Noah was introduced in 2018.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. When was King in Black?
Was there like a long build up until he became the antagonist?
Yeah, it was part of the run. King in Black was 2020 to 2021.
Oh wow!
Like the event of Null coming to Earth and fighting Eddie and all that shit. And I do remember reading a good chunk of it. So like, because I was reading the Venom book at the time, I'm like, okay, yeah. And yeah, don't get me wrong, Spider-Man's in it, but he's not that much of a big character in it. Right. So to center it on him, I think takes away from what is actually a pretty good story for Eddie about overcoming this fucking insane obstacle. But because that's what a lot of the run was him like facing his old demons, like his abusive dad and him being a father as himself, and like the lore of the symbiotes that runs a lot deeper.
So let me ask you this: is Noel a good villain?
Oh God. Okay. I'm trying very hard to be polite.
Don't.
Not really.
No.
He's not a stupid villain. He's one of those villains who's like just too OP to the point where it's like, oh yeah, he's killed Celestials and he fought the Silver Surfer. And like he can make basically whatever he wants, and he's like the darkness that was there at like the birth of the universe.
Is it like the inverse of the Superman problem?
Yes, kind of.
He's one because he's so powerful.
Yeah, like he's a little. I know he's a comic book character, but he is a little two-dimensional as a villain. Where it's just like
one-dimensional or two-dimensional.
One-dimensional, I should say, not two-dimensional. Yeah, where it's just like. It's like, what are you? It's like, I'm evil. It's like, okay, what do you want? It's like, I want to get revenge on the symbiotes that imprison me. It's like, well, why'd you make them? They were weapons. Well, what did you want to do? Destroy and burn everything and rule it all, and turn the reality into a constant state of darkness. And I was like, okay.
Why? Because.
Yeah, kind of. Like, he wasn't. He had his motivations, but it just wasn't like super deep. It was like the nigga was just evil.
Yeah, and I'm like, And I think those villains can work, but I feel like villains like Thanos are appealing because there's like a sense of groundingness and something that makes sense. But I feel like if you make a villain intimidating with their presence and the effects their presence can have, i.e., killing characters in brutal ways, and then having like some great dialogue, I feel like that can carry the weight of a lesser or a more thinly written villain.
Yeah, he's a primordial deity that came into being following this destruction of the 6th iteration of the cosmos. He was also known as like the Endless Void, the King in Black. You know, he's the darkness and da 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 da. So it's like he's a little bit of a, like, he's cool. Don't get me wrong, he's cool, but like, you know, he's a little flat, and you gotta, like, you could probably pump him up more over time, but you know, it's just like, oh, I'm mad because they put me in this cage. It's God, looking at this is also, it just reminded me. So there's a symbiote dragon called the Grendel. And now knowing that they used the xenophage, which I guess was in the comics before, as the villain, in retrospect, they should have used the Grendel. Because just like, it was, that also could have, been a reason for him to have the wings, is like he learns it from the Grendel. Because I think that was partially what inspired him to get the wings in the comics, was like he saw that it's like, oh, they sent well, I think that's a lot more intimidating. Not saying what we got wasn't. Like, those things were like creepy looking. But it's one thing to send, it's like, oh, here's this ominous alien monster beast. How about this? A dragon from space.
I don't think that solves the villain problem,
No,
though.
no, it doesn't.
Replaces what the thing is.
I'm just saying, it's like, I think the Grendel would have kind of consolidated it versus like sending multiple. It's like, okay, I think
you still need like a emotional threat in addition to a physical threat.
Okay, so I guess to expand on that, have the xenophages actually be destructible, like killable. Sure. So you're seeing multiple of them. But then he finds the codex. He's like, it's there. I need to send my biggest one. Then you send the Grendel.
Okay.
Because it's like, because he's already opening portals, but they're like unkillable. So it's like, obviously there's stakes, but it's like most of the people there have a higher chance of dying because they're fucking turning symbiotes into Swiss cheese.
Right.
You know, so it's like, oh, we have to already take on these threats. Making them killable, I think, makes it like, oh, okay, we can stop whatever's coming. Psych, bitch, here's the dragon.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the bigger portal. Because they sent the portal and more xenophages came out. And it's like, okay, now can you imagine, like, Venom fucking stretching, yoinking down a dragon into, like, a vat of acid?
That'd be pretty metal.
It doesn't innately fix the problems that this movie has, but I think it can add a little bit more interest to, like, the obstacles at bay. Where it's like, oh, these bullets really, like, fuck this thing up, and we're trying to study it, and it's like, what do the symbiotes know about? Because then you can cut out that family sequence and then just have them be on the base where it's like, oh, we managed to, Venom helped us kill one of these. Have this symbiote communicate with fucking Toxin, and we try and gather some research. It's like, something bigger is coming. It's like, what do you mean? And then a fucking dragon like shoots at it.
You know what would have been more interesting rather than having the whole government subplot is if Eddie and Venom, maybe they are on the run, right? Mm-hmm. But he sees the first xenophage, and then it's about him like getting the band back together, and he has to go find the other symbiotes that even though he felt like a reject on Planet Clintar, he's like, okay, but I feel like these other people, like, not collecting the Infinity Stones, but collecting a band to go against.
Yeah, like making making an army against the xenophages.
Exactly.
And making
ultimately the introduction to an army against Null.
Oh, so you mean, making lethal protectors.
Exactly.
Would that not, and they could have called it lethal protectors.
Like the movie, could have been called the movie, yeah. But no, they didn't want to do that. And then have maybe a Voldemort thing with like Shield 4, and like he's like Like
Yeah, because I thought he was going to get a symbiote.
Well, yeah, but maybe he's like a fraction of Noel, but on Earth. That way you're going to get like this face-to-face with Venom and...
Yeah, it's like, you're the one that has the codex. It's like, I'm going to remember this face, and when I get out of here, I'll stop you or I'll kill you.
Yeah, I didn't want to commit to an ending. I didn't want to commit to teasing the next phase. It was just kind of like...
I didn't want to commit to something interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we got some hearty laughs out of this movie.
Yeah, with you.
It's just nothing.
It's a nothing burger.
Yeah, it's just Joker, I at least felt like some emotion at the end. It's like, I just didn't like that. That was bad. This one, we walked out, I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's walk around. I was more interested in like that expensive soap place that we went to, honestly, versus this movie.
Yeah, it just exists, which is sad because it feels like fabricated. It feels
they tried in every place but the narrative.
Yeah, because like that scene where they're playing the Maroon 5 song, I know that was a reshoot because they shot that pretty late. I want to say they shot that like a month.
Yeah, I could definitely tell that. I mean, I know it's supposed to be a year later, and it's been 6 years since.
The beginning of Venom 3.
Yeah, obviously, Tom Hardy's gonna age, but also like wasn't that weird that we didn't see like Anne or like any of the other people he interacted with? Like we didn't see him fight Carnage. It's like remember me fondly, Eddie, and it's like half of the scenes were stuff from the movie that we just watched.
It was weird choice.
Just weird. I don't know, anything else before you talk about Agatha?
No.
Go to sleep.
Get on.
Okay. Full spoilers for Agatha All Along. It dropped this week. Yeah, this is Marvel's best show. It's the best written show.
It's the best written show. First show with a showrunner, and
yes, shout out to Zach Schaefer.
It's the first show since WandaVision where I'm like, after watching the ending, I'm like, damn, I need to go back and watch all these seeds that they laid out because now there's a whole other layer of context that we didn't have as we were watching the show week to week. But now that it's all out, let's see if we see those things as we're going along or if it's all retroactively added. Because I feel like the episode that stands out the best...
Was it 7? 7 was the one that focused on...
Yeah, I think all of them were good. All of them were really strong for me, except...
I agree.
One was okay, and I think maybe like 5 or 6 where they had to do the...
Which was the Billy one? Was that 6 or 5? I think that was 6.
Billy was 6.
I liked 6 a lot. I liked 6, and 7 was great.
Might have been 4 or 5 for me. That was like, okay. That was the one where Rio first comes in and they have to do like the song for Witch's Road.
I think that was... Oh, wait.
Where she gets the curse lifted before Alice dies.
Before Alice dies.
It's the one where she has to get the curse lifted.
Hold on, I want to look now.
Where they're all like in 70s gear and like the demon.
Yeah. I get. Yeah, that's like the episode. Weakest.
But even so, that was still a fun episode.
Yeah, it was. I think it was 4.
It had to be 4.
If I can't reach you, let my song teach you. I'm pretty sure that. Yeah, that was 4, the 70s one. Yeah, that was. I mean, I like the demon design in that. I was like surprised that they actually went with some kind of eerie.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, just like casually going through. It's like, this show gave me like pleasant surprises, but in like unexpected ways.
Yeah, for sure. I was surprised that they actually killed off characters. And
stuck to it. Yeah, they killed off characters and stuck to it. They did, kisses between. They had openly queer characters and stuck to it.
Yeah. They
had nudity and let it rock.
Did they?
Yeah, Agatha's full butt cheeks out in that first episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I almost forgot. I remembered because I was like,
jeez.
On Disney Plus? Yeah, I mean, the first couple were, it was not even like a slow burn. It was like medium.
Yeah,
it was like medium speed. It was like a speed walk.
Yeah, it was like stronger as it went along.
Yeah, it did. Episode 7 was. I don't know how they did. I still don't know how they did that.
I don't know how they did that. They planted the seeds along the line. It was like, all right, this chick is kooky. We don't know what she's saying, and then making it all tie in to make sense by that episode, which is great. Because it's funny because I brought it up to you, like Haunting of Hill House, and I've heard a lot of people compare the reveal in that episode to like the midway point of Haunting of Hill House. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but it makes me curious about that show because I like shows where they retroactively reveal information that the audience wasn't privy to before. That's my shit. That's my bread and butter.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. I mean, acting's really good across the board. Fucking love Joe Locke is Wiccan. When he came down in his full outfit and we started screaming, I'm like, yeah, he got that shit on. He looked amazing in his outfit. I definitely want to do like a Wiccan cosplay at some point because he looked really fucking good.
Super cool.
Even the reveal of him like having his powers with the crown and everything like that was good. The emphasis on the Witch's Road as like a song was like interesting to me.
It was a major part of the show, and it had a purpose.
It was interesting because it wasn't just like supplemental, and it felt like they were really harping on it. And when I would like go on socials and everyone's like knowing the lyrics, I'm like, is it really like that much of a banger that we're sticking to it? But then you get to the end, I'm like, oh, that song had a narrative reason. That's why you kept drilling it in so deep. It's like, pay attention. This has to do. And even someone had posted just like one of the bits early, I think it was in episode 1 when they were gathering the coven. She's like, the Witch's Road is a sham. It's not real. It's a cult. It's a lie. That was the one moment she was like, she was telling it to our faces. I'm like, versus it's like you said, looking back, how are scenes recontextualized with things like that? Because in that moment, it's like, oh, she was 100% telling the truth. The shit was a scam. It's a hustle. It's snake oil.
Yeah. To
like steal power from witches. Now she didn't say it exactly like that, but she was like, it's a scam. It's it's like it's not real. It's not a real thing. It's it's a cult. It's bullshit. And it's like, oh, well, I guess you would know because you made up the road until Superboy over here made the road a real thing, which even adds to her surprise of like, oh shit, it's real now.
Yeah.
Fuck. What do I do? Now it's outside of my control and I don't have my powers.
Yeah.
How'd you go ahead?
No, I was gonna say I really enjoyed the show. Also, if you look in that costume design on Instagram,
it's really cool details.
Yeah, there's like sigils and stuff on the sleeves that are like embroidered in, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I think all the characters are really strong. We again took a show or a property that we weren't really excited about and gave us characters that we became endeared to over the course of the 9 episodes.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very smart of them to make these witches all distinct, to make a point of it. You got us invested in their lore as characters, and we got to watch them bond. And the biggest kudos I can say to this show is that it's called Agatha All Along, based off of the title of her reveal episode in WandaVision. Mm-hmm. And it managed to live up to that title. And it's funny because before this movie came out, or before the show came out, there was a lot of title changes that the show went into. It was like, first it was Agatha Coven of Chaos, and it was Agatha House of Harkness. And then we had one other title, and then it switched to Agatha All Along. Darkhold Diaries, which makes no freaking sense. Now that go for it. Which makes no sense because there's no Darkhold in this show whatsoever.
Right.
So to call it, I wonder, and then if that was like a ploy the entire time because
I think it actually was, which I'm like, all right, good on them. They got us because I was like, y'all gotta pick some shit. It was they got us with the okie doke.
Yeah.
It was all a game the whole time.
Yeah, and for it to live up to that title, for us to never trust Agatha the entire time,
even in production,
is kind of wild.
Yeah, it's kind of impressive.
And to the very end, you're like, oh, she's like a serial killer.
Yeah,
she's killed a lot of freaking people.
Yeah, and we can touch on those last ones. Like what was it, episode 8? Where like it was after Rio revealed that she was death and everything, and the cards were aligned. It was after like the last trial, and they managed to figure it out. And there's the pretty much like Agatha, It's like leading the way. I'm like, we should stop anymore. And I'm getting her, I'm like, the way live. Although, that's your Samada. She's like, hey, go see your figures. I'm down this way for her and Rio and Agatha and Wiccan.
I liked everybody really kind of except for Sharon and Alice. I feel like Alice didn't really add much, and I feel like Sharon didn't really add much either. Sharon had her thing with her mom, and then after she had that, they're like, okay, your purpose is done.
Wait, which one was Alice? I thought Sharon was the neighbor.
Was the Asian chick. Sharon was the neighbor. Alice was the Asian chick.
Okay, you were saying Sharon. Yeah, you were saying. Oh, okay, yeah, you were saying Sharon as Alice.
Yeah, the most interesting people on the show were the people.
Yeah, the ones that live. Yeah, and which is a shame because I was curious about like if they're going to do more with Alice, but I do think it does kind of work for it to be like kind of abrupt.
Yeah,
because when she comes back to episode 8 and no, it's second. That's it.
What was her? How did you take care of her? She didn't have any house.
No, she's yeah. Everyone
that was some scratch looking at the camera.
Yeah.
But if you're watching the show as it goes along, it's just like reincarnated. It's gonna be my thing.
Yeah.
It's just magic, and I wonder if that aspect of things plays as you're watching it back.
It's a good question.
Because
it'd be curious to see how it goes on like a second go round. It's like what, like who really knew what and what was going on.
That it was all in a construct of Billy's imagination.
I loved it. I thought I'm like, I would have never thought of that shit, but then it immediately makes sense. And then with more context that we got of Agatha's backstory about the road being a hustle, I think it supports it and makes it even better.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh shit, not only does this kid have his mom's reality warping abilities, which is fucking insane, but also it's like that whole road bullshit that he believed, it's basically, it's a very long drawn out version of being hoist by your own petard, where because had Agatha not made the road up as like, basically just like it started as one song and then slowly evolved into a parlor trick that slowly evolved into like a trick to trick witches to steal their magic. Had she not basically created the road, he wouldn't have road for real.
Yeah.
Like if she had the idea and seeded it into like the witch community's head for the better part of 2.5 centuries. Mm-hmm.
So then up into this, because she's killing people, which is like exchange their relationship. She loves death.
Yeah.
And death loves her for giving her bodies, and then
she loves
death for
she gets power. She gets power. So there's a transactional nature to the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is interesting. I think we could have get slightly more context on like the nature because it did seem very, very intimate. Yeah. But it's like it's interesting for a witch to be enamored with a like cosmic force.
Yeah.
Like the physical personification of like a phenomena. Yeah. You know, it's like damn, I'm really attracted to like mathematics, you know, like the concept of gravity or something, which is interesting. So it's like, yeah, it's somebody powered by the supernatural, like that's interesting. Yeah, that's really do. And her backstory when she's in the woods and like the little villages and communities, which that was something that we noticed that I thought was interesting, was the amount of like free black people in the 1750s, which
that was different.
I'm not saying that it's impossible. It's an interesting observation, and I posted about it in threads, and everyone was like, especially if they're in the North or probably Salem, like Massachusetts and all that, there's a decent chance that there could have been free people, but it's all, at the end of the day, it's like it's a fictional universe, so it's probably a universe. I'm not complaining about it. It was just a hilarious observation thing about like it being 1756, and there's a lot of niggas walking around. It's like, you know, in the witch communes, they're probably polite to each other. I'm just like, again, we have to do a lot of assuming that there weren't racist witches.
Yeah,
it's like, because here's the thing: if Agatha's killing indiscriminately by the boatload, she didn't give a shit about like what you look like. As long as you have power, I'm here to suck, baby.
Exactly.
But it's like, I don't know, if you're willing to kill whoever, I feel like racism that isn't.
It's fine.
It's like you have all this in America at this time in history, and you look at a black woman just walking around in her, hoop skirt, minding her business, and it's like, yeah, we're equals. It's not to say that they didn't exist, because that's what the implication is, but it's just funny to think about, where it's just like, man, imagine that. People not being racist and just getting along, and the real villain is a serial killer who's using her son as a ploy to get people to give into her Ponzi scheme, her little cult. I don't know. It was just interesting. I'm like, well, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what part she was in, but it seemed like very much away from society. So yeah, maybe they're in a. I get what you're saying though.
They're little society
period.
Yeah, it's like with the time period, I'm just like, again, it's not impossible. I was just surprised to see so many. I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot.
A significant amount.
Like walking around safe and free. I mean, I guess the witches were looking out for us.
I suppose so.
Cool. But I guess it's just like the interesting argument is like, well, it's a fictional universe. I'm like, yeah, see, you could use that, but then Killmonger in Captain America, where he's literally says like, I'm a black Captain America, or America had the Tuskegee experiments to make Isaiah Bradley. So it's like, well, maybe America developed different. I'm like, did it? Isaiah Bradley happened. People weren't too happy that Sam got in universe. People were happy.
Yeah.
Killmonger wasn't Cali, and it's like,
I don't know. I feel like most of the at that point, the freed black people or the enlightened black people were murdered by Agatha.
I think it was under the sun. Yeah, All right.
Ask Graham at the Real Alexander. Find me at Real EL, and you can find me on Real at YouTube.com.
Yeah, and you can also find me on my YouTube channel at Will the Greatest. You can find me on Instagram at Will the Greatest, all one word. You can find me on TikTok at Will.thegreatest. Make sure to like the show, share the show, and rate the show 5 stars. And comment with the hashtag AskAce, and we will we'll respond to it. Yeah, let your friends know, check out the shows, and we will see y'all in the next one.